This is the story of Tsukaru Sumeragi, a high school senior whose only passion is cooking. While his classmates praised his food, he was lonely, finding solace only in friends on the internet. But one day the most popular girl in school Ikenos noticed his talent. She admitted she was too clumsy to help, but was happy just to watch him work. Look, as soon as their teacher left the room, Tsukuru suddenly felt a chilling premonition. In an instant the world dissolved into chaos and blinding light. The entire school building was enveloped by some unknown phenomenon. Tsukuru and his classmates found themselves in a huge stone hall. All he could do was guess, was this really the legendary challenge to another world? Before they could understand what had happened, they were surrounded by soldiers in armor. From a high balcony, nobles and kings looked at them as if they were cattle. A man stepped forward, his voice echoed through the hall. "You are heroes summoned to this world by our ritual." When panic spread, the knight said that their status would now be checked. Their mission is to fight demon kings, but which task each will get will be decided by an auction between kingdoms with very high stakes. Each student took turns stepping forward and touching the strange plaque with the status. Yuchino's was the first to speak. She announced her profession. Holy Maiden, rank S, and the bids instantly soared to tens of millions. Then it was Tsukuru Sumeraga's turn. They began to evaluate him. The Great Hall fell silent when his status flashed before everyone, Cook rank G. The enraged ones burst out with contempt. Good for nothing, they shouted, hurry up and move on to the next. The nobleman fiercely protested that such a worthless hero was called when the world was in danger. Tsukuru froze, wondering what he could have done to deserve such humiliation. An old man told him that he would not be sent back. Instead, he handed him a pitiful sword and a few coins, then led him to the gates. He sharply explained that none of the kingdoms wanted to accept a cook. Every carrier reached out to him, but the guards firmly restrained her. Tsukuru put on a smile and promised that maybe someday they would meet again. Through tears, she asked him to promise that they would see each other again. Of course, he said, turning his back and heading towards that ominous portal. See you then. But as soon as he stepped into the gate, a hand pushed him from behind with all its might. He saw the old man's face twist into a cruel smile, and at that moment he realized he had been betrayed. Tsukuru fell not into the city, but right into the very heart of the dark and ominous forest. He got up, the shock inside him turned into pure rage. He was deceived and left in the middle of the treacherous bullet forest. That old bastard, he thought, as a status plate materialized before him, confirming his pathetic first-level job. His combat skills were absolutely useless, and his stats were terribly low. But survival was the top priority. He used the skill of careful inspection and desperately searched for anything edible. He managed to find some berries and mushrooms, and with his unique skill, he skillfully hid them for later. Just a tiny spark of hope flashed in his heart. He was ambushed by a giant rat. Paralyzing fear gripped him. They knew he couldn't fight and threw him here to die. The fear inside him turned into a burning desire for revenge, and he swore he would survive in this forest and make them all pay. But suddenly a new shadow loomed over him, and it was not just a beast. A giant saber-toothed beast looked at him, its claws like sharpened daggers. Tsukuru could only scream as the predator pounced. The sword disappeared, and his only weapon became the mushrooms in his inventory. The beast brushed him off like an insect and threw him to the ground. He fell with a crash. As his life began to fade, he thought, is this really the end? But the thought of his revenge, of the justice he had to restore, did not let him give up. In a last desperate surge, he used his only offensive skill, Ignite. He screamed, unleashing the last drop of his will into the attack. Suddenly, magical tongues of flame wrapped around the creature, and it roared in pain. It wildly struggled, trying to crush him to extinguish the flames. Pinned under the beast, Tsukuru used the only other skill that came to his mind, Dismantle. With a flash of dark energy, the monster instantly turned into a pile of bones and materials. Suddenly, a message appeared before his eyes. You leveled up. Another one and another one and another one until the messages flooded his senses. He leveled up not just once, but by dozens of levels instantly. Covered in blood, he froze, staring at the impossible result. The pain from the wounds was unbearable and he collapsed. He was alive but barely holding on. As consciousness slowly slipped away, a memory flashed in his mind about the new skill he had just mastered, water gun. Suddenly, a small sphere of pure water appeared, dripping into his mouth and saving him from thirst. One more skill activated healing food. A stake appeared from the monster's remains, as if promising to mend his wounds. Having no other choice, he rushed to devour the magical meat. He ate greedily, fighting to survive. Incredible strength surged through his battered body. His severe wounds began to heal and disappear. In a matter of moments, he fully recovered. He looked at his hands, at his body, and could not believe it. He had truly healed. Now, with a new chance at life, he gazed into the dark forest. His determination was hardened. He checked his status again. His name was Tsukaru Sumeragi, but he was no longer a first-level cook. Now he was level 123 with a bunch of new powerful skills. The bony creature released its prey, mistaking the human for a monster. The hero understood. Against a level 200 sword reaper, he had no chance. He had to become stronger. Before chasing revenge any further, he first needed to eat. Having finished eating, he suddenly felt a strange new effect beginning to envelop him. Suddenly he realized, by consuming different parts of the monster, he gained completely different skills. The stronger the creature he devoured, the more power he acquired. With this new knowledge, he set out hunting, determined to become strong enough to destroy his enemies. But just as he was preparing food, a pack of wolves attacked him. He poured out a torrent of water, knowing it was useless against their numbers. Suddenly, a much greater threat lunged from the shadows. A monstrous hell bear suddenly appeared before him. The level 210 beast looked at him with pure malice. The creature let out a deafening howl. The hero jumped back just as the huge jaws of the beast snapped shut. The beast's attack was so powerful that it threw him backward. He instantly counterattacked, trying to immobilize it with the shadowy bonds of tree magic. The magic proved useless under the colossal strength of the bear. It instantly broke. He wiped downward with a giant rag, slicing through the air. The beast's teeth found their target and bit deeply into his shoulder. He gritted his teeth from the burning pain as the creature easily lifted him. The bear's claws dug into his torso and pinned him like an insect. His mind was flooded with rage, and a burning desire for revenge consumed him from within. When the monster loomed over him, he stubbornly refused to let his story end there. He decided to resort to the last desperate final gambit. He unleashed his most powerful ability, and darkness engulfed the world. When he woke up, he suddenly felt that he had absorbed the power of that creature. He step by step gathered all the useful from the bear, drawing new skills and strength from its remains. The journey led him further, and he found himself face to face with another deadly predator. Again, he found himself in a dead end, and asked himself whether his fate was really to be a close combat fighter. But at that very moment, he noticed one important thing. From that hellish bear, he received dark magic, the perfect weapon for his revenge. His celebration was abruptly interrupted by a strange message. From the system, he was assigned the title Pervert. The description under the title mocked him because he was without clothes. He looked down, his face frozen in disbelief. The absurd title now stuck to his status forever. 30 days passed in the merciless forest, and he asked himself whether he had really become stronger. The loneliness of the wild wilderness began to weigh on him. He was completely alone. He could only dream of finding an ally in this desolate land. Suddenly, his senses sharpened. He recognized that familiar, eerie presence he had encountered before. The Reaper tried to teleport away, but he bound him with shadowy chains. The main hero mockingly teased the creature and locked it in a cage made of magical wood. The god, using the skill Existence Detection, tracked the Reaper, who teleported behind him, preparing for a surprise attack. He ignited his ignition spell, a continuous blazing flame that would become a problem if the enemy kept running. That explosion threw the Reaper into the air. But the monster did not retreat, it teleported behind him again to deliver the final blow. At the very last moment, he activated dismantling mode. The Reaper's robes scattered and transformed into a powerful new cloak for the hero. The Hermit's cloak granted invisibility and protection from any magic, another victory in the pocket. And then suddenly a blinding force knocked him down. He froze in shock as the attack pierced his new magical shields. The explosion threw him backward. The skeletal warrior finally took off his cloak, stood before him, and asked one question: "Are you a warrior?" The main character reviews his long list of skills. Each item screams about his rapid growth. He bites into a piece of raw metal ore. Using his crafting ability, he finished forging a powerful new sword and stunned his companion. Suddenly, a pitch-black blade spoke directly into his head. It asks if he is a true warrior and promises to give him its power if he proves he really can. Suddenly, the thinking weapon asks a strange question: "Do you believe in God?" The hero brushed off the idea, explained that in just a month his faith was shattered completely. He was summoned to this world without choice, and instead was only despised and thrown away. He recalls those endless nights of hunger and relentless struggle for survival against deadly beasts. He screams, demands an answer. Why does God allow people to endure such a cruel fate? This God sees it and simply ignores the arrogance of his servants and the decay of humanity. Burning with hellish fury, he declares that he will smash the face of that God. The sword calmly replies that it has no intention of stopping him. They say that the form of his vengeful soul seems created for its power. It calls itself Kurakiri, the Death Sword, and tells him to simply imagine his desire. The main hero asks about the nearest towns, but Kurakiri brings grim news. They stand right in the very center of the dangerous bullet forest. The sword suddenly realizes he deliberately came to this dangerous place to challenge the king of the forest. Before his eyes appears a colossal beast, the Imperial Dragon of level 300. The hero froze. The power of this creature far exceeds anything he has ever encountered. The dragon instantly releases the Imperial Breath, a stream of destructive energy. The blast strike is so powerful that he immediately loses consciousness. The spirit of the girl he saved desperately calls him, trying to find out if he is still alive. She screams his name as the huge jaws of the dragon close to kill. But at the last moment the hero disappears and the beast bites the air. He activated his dark magic and teleported away from inevitable death. Hiding in the very shadow of the dragon, he tells his companion, "It's time to counterattack." He swallows a recovery item and his energy instantly surges upward. As he moves away, creating distance between them, the dragon again releases a devastating breath. The spirit is gripped by horror. He knows that no one has survived an encounter with this monster so far. She warns that the beast will hunt him, while he summons an iron wall to hold back its assault. The breath of the Emperor Dragon easily breaks the magical barrier. He is trapped and knows escape is impossible, and getting close enough to attack is also impossible. He devises a new plan: use remove presence, sneak up on unseen, and then dismantle him. He activates the skill and disappears, momentarily confusing the huge dragon. The beast lunges in all directions, twitching and unable to find its invisible enemy. The hero silently lands on the dragon's back, preparing to deliver the final blow. But the dragon's eye suddenly opened. It sensed his presence, even though he tried to be unnoticed. It fiercely throws him off its back, and he crashes to the ground with a roar. He raises another wall, stunned by how this creature found him. The spirit explains that his overwhelming murderous intent revealed his location. This revelation ignites a radical, almost insane idea in the hero's mind. He realizes he has only one chance. He must use fabricate to turn his murderous intent into love. He approaches and gently places his hand on the huge beast. With a final resolute cry, he prepares to unleash his transformed power. He activates Dismantle, and the Dragon Emperor instantly falls. Deep in the forest, he stumbles upon a strange machine filled with spheres and wonders. Is it some kind of trap? Seeing no immediate threat, he decides to try his luck, hoping to find a powerful item. Suddenly, a black capsule appears, and as soon as he touches it, a notification pops up. He has acquired the skill Equivalent Exchange. The companion asks skeptically if one skill is a meager reward, and he quietly explains, "This is not an ordinary skill, but a unique one much rarer than common abilities." The sword persistently urges him to improve his skills, and he agrees their chance to become stronger lies only in relying on each other. He easily cuts through the monster and thanks his thinking blade for the invaluable training. Fight victory, fight again, this becomes his second self. In this relentless forging, he discovers new passive defenses against physical and magical attacks. His status reveals a formidable arsenal of abilities, newly acquired resistances, and the mysterious Equivalent Exchange. His companion insists that back in the forest, he shed his rags and changed into normal clothes. From the skins of fallen beasts, he sews himself new formidable armor. Now in the hide of a hell bear and a tall fur coat, he is fully equipped for the road ahead. He stands ready and wonders whom he will meet first in this unfamiliar world. Suddenly, under the cliff where he stands, a commotion rises. He is calm because he is confident. Survival skills hardened in battles with mighty beasts will carry him through any trial. In the distance, a group of travelers is overwhelmed. Their defensive formation breaks apart. He recognizes the attackers as ordinary bandits and calmly assesses the situation with his sword. As he descends, his passive resistance skills activate on their own, preparing him for the clash. A woman from the surrounded carriage notices his approach and desperately calls for help. One of the bandits naively believes her cries are for him, completely unaware of the real threat. The thieves celebrated victory prematurely. Their greed blinded them, and they did not notice their doom approaching. In an instant, he is already among them. His blade flashes and a bandit falls, not even managing to react. The man Calypseshi's mind cannot comprehend the attacker's impossible speed. Inside the carriage, a noble lady is shielded from the brutal spectacle unfolding outside. The main hero stands ready, his icy gaze fixed on the remaining bandits. The fight ended in a moment, leaving only silence and the bodies of the dead. His companion's sword broke the silence and quietly asked, "What is it like to take a human life?" He looks at his hands, lost in thought. The main hero was troubled by one simple fact: it was too easy. One of the surviving guards cautiously approaches, demanding that he identify himself. He silently turned away, preparing to leave this scene behind. The guards can only watch as their mysterious savior walks away. They can only guess who the man was who dealt with the bandits with terrifying efficiency. Finally, he reaches the town of Allegria, a lively settlement on the very edge of civilization. He walks through the crowded streets, a sharp contrast to the desert forest. He is overwhelmed by a wave of relief. Now the life of an ordinary person can finally begin. His status screen updates, revealing a new beginning, an unexpected class: Cook. The beastman, chuckling, retells the story of the hero's sudden appearance. The hero splurged on lunch, spent a considerable sum, and remarked with a smile that the local food looks much tastier than their weapons. He walks through the market with such confidence, as if no blade in the world can surpass the one he carries. The group of beastmen is stunned to learn that he is familiar with rice and pasta. He was directed to Settle General Store, a huge shop where he might find what he is looking for. A cheerful catgirl meets him at the door and immediately joyfully says, Yes, we sell rice. She jokes, asking if he is in love, and he waved it off. No, I'm just not used to conversations. Another employee points to the collar on her neck, revealing the truth. She is a slave. The main hero froze at this revelation, while the slave tirelessly showed him different kinds of rice. He recognized a familiar type of rice, probably from his world, and bought 10 sacks for 60,000 gold. The shop owner said he would come to him personally to thank him for this huge order. With a simple gesture, the main character sent 10 sacks of rice into his spacious inventory box, stunning everyone around. Impressed, Settle asks if he is interested in anything else the shop offers, from food to slaves. Just the mention of slaves throws the main character off track. He freezes and ponders. At first he hesitated, but the owner persuaded him to at least take a look. He learns that in this world slaves have legal rights and protection and most often work as maids. But the owner insists there is something else he needs to see and leads him to the closed section. Behind bars are criminal slaves. Their rights have been taken away and they are thrown into dangerous, often deadly work. While working, Settle sharply fixes his gaze on one girl hunched in the back row. He explained how she was framed. The sorceress was accused of killing a nobleman's child simply because she was near the crime scene. She asks herself if she is really guilty, and the owner honestly admits he does not know and believes she was just unlucky. Will's words reveal a personal connection. He knew this girl from birth. She is the daughter of his close friend. Her story about how she was unjustly accused touched him deeply. It resonated with his own tragic past. The owner begs him to buy a girl named Hannah, but the main character hesitates. Settle becomes desperate, warning that if she is not bought immediately, she will definitely be executed. Their conversation is interrupted by a brazen nobleman who bursts in and loudly declares that he will buy Kana. The nobleman, Lord Dakum, opposed the main character, cast a sharp glance at him, and coldly remarked about a possible prophet, a slave mage. Ignoring the man's provocations, the hero turns around and, as if nothing happened, makes an incredible offer: 100 million gold for the girl. The astronomical sum left both the owner and the nobleman completely speechless. Dakum fiercely protests, but Settle calmly tells him that another buyer has already made a deal. The main character grabbed the enraged nobleman, his eyes filled with cold fury, and warned him to step back. Guards rush to help. Dakum retreats with a final threat, and the hero remains to ponder whether it was worth intervening. He looks at the saved girl and again vows to destroy anyone who dares to stand in his way. Settle watched with a quiet sense of victory. He knew he had placed his trust in the right person. The main character assures the owner that he will personally repay the kindness shown to him. Settle quietly praised his old friend, confident that the man known as Kurakiri, the Death Sword, would protect his daughter. He and the girl stepped into the darkness. A new and dangerous path was unfolding before them. The girl in chains sits silently in the doorway, and outside the rain begins to fall. The main character, Sukuru, gazes at the downpour from the window. There is almost no money left, and he feels the plans to leave the city will now have to be changed. He looked at the rescued girl and decided to let her rest until she recovers and can speak. After some time, he begins to prepare food. While he was cooking, he noticed the girl in the doorway. She quietly stood and watched him. He brings the healing dish and gently says, "Eat as much as you want." She hesitantly takes the first bite. To his horror, she eats on the floor like a wild animal. He immediately orders her to sit at the table and insists that she eat properly, using a fork and spoon. The girl obediently approaches the chair. Sakura looks at her, fascinated and surprised by how she eats so elegantly and delicately. He silently checks how she is doing. He hopes that this healing dish will cure not only her bodily wounds, but also the wounds in her mind. While she eats, tears begin to roll down her face. She completely breaks down and cries out the name Dalsama in her grief. Sukuru immediately understands the healing food worked and broke through her trauma. He recalls a glimpse of her former happy life and cannot comprehend what horrors she must have endured to become so broken. Faces of corrupt nobles flicker in his mind. He curses them all. His face freezes in cold determination. The intelligent sword calls and he grabs it, feeling that the threat is already approaching. Through the window, he senses 5 attackers approaching, their presence clumsy and clearly noticeable. Outside in the dark alley, killers are falling one after another. The last attacker is cornered by a terrifying, gigantic bear. The monster transforms again into Sukuru, who fiercely looks at the frightened man. He rushes with dazzling speed and effortlessly disarms the opponent. Sukuru pressed the blade to the man's throat and threateningly demanded to know who sent him. The killer helplessly tries to fight back. Sukuru's eyes glow with incredible power. He presses on the man, demanding answers, and asks why they are still pursuing him, even though they have already abandoned him. The killer reveals his true target, the red-haired slave who is following him. He confesses they knew nothing about Sukuru, they were simply offered good money for this job. Sukuru instantly ends the interrogation. He understood everything completely. He suddenly realizes that he can already guess who is behind this attack. They got themselves into a truly dangerous situation. It turned into a real troublesome complication. He returns to the room and sees the girl has woken up and is looking at him. When the sun rises, she sits up in bed. This is how the dawn of his coming revenge begins. The system confirms the main character's intuition skill has been replaced by a new ability Klain. He looked at his new clothes and thought that they would be just perfect for Hannah, who had long been unable to wash properly. Watching the sleeping elf girl, he sees with relief that her nightmares have finally disappeared. He decides to cook something for her himself, although he has no idea what she would like. In a memory, the young girl is told that her father, a great mage, has died, but she is warmly welcomed into a new family. Ken's child sincerely and deeply thanks the woman Dalchisa. Dolph smiles and says that she is very happy to work for such kind people. But the memory darkens and she wonders, how could everything have gone so wrong? The idyllic scene collapses into chaos and ruins. Just a moment ago, Dolce was overseeing the estate grounds. Then the agitated servant shouted about trouble. The count's son was attacked. She found the young Lord Dolce himself, who was bleeding on the stone path. She rushed to him, pleading him to hold on when she realized he was still breathing. But her healing magic proved powerless against such severe wounds, she couldn't even stop the bleeding. She embraced him and begged, "Don't die." Another nobleman appeared on the scene. He froze, overwhelmed with horror at what he saw. He sharply demanded to know what had happened. And suddenly the guards appeared accusing Canna of murdering the young lord for money. The accuser loudly emphasized that no one had seen or confirmed her story about the cleaning. Then he pulled out a letter supposedly from Hannah, which cunningly lured the victim into a trap. Kana shouted that it was not her, she would never have done such a thing. Now behind bars, the guard brings Hannah a bowl of thin porridge and orders her to eat. She looks at that disgusting goo, barely recognizing it as food. Another prisoner throws in, "I'll take that food if she refuses." The prisoner warns her, "If you don't eat, you will die because soon everyone will be sold to the mines." The elf girl, who has now become a slave herself, cannot understand what could she have done to deserve this fate. She sinks into despair, convinced none of this would have happened if Dolce Sama were alive. While she was wondering what to do, suddenly a voice sounded and declared that it would buy her. A hand reaches out, offering escape from her torment. It belongs to the new master of the main heroine. He calmly tells her, "Sit at the table and eat properly." She froze, looking at the food. She cannot remember the last time she ate something so real. Fear of disobeying her new master forces her to obey. Hesitantly raises the fork to her mouth, begins to eat the dish placed before her. The main character, confident in his culinary skills, asks her to express her opinion. She falls silent for a moment. Her hand trembles. A memory from the past resurfaces again. In the last moments of life, Daltasama told her that everything is now fine. He begged her not to cry. Returning to the present, a single tear rolls down the elf's cheek. The main character anxiously thinks that the money is melting away, and he barely has enough to pay for their housing. Later, he finds her awake in bed and offers her something to eat. And she immediately sits up, ready for another portion. He is stunned by her appetite. He has already prepared 6 full cauldrons of food. But still he rejoices, seeing that she has become healthier and livelier. When someone asks if it is tasty, a radiant, joyful smile blooms on her face. The hero sighs and thinks that he is too soft-hearted and this harms him. Without warning, the girl suddenly collapsed in her chair. He panics for a moment, then realizes she just dozed off in the middle of a bite. He could only watch her strange behavior completely confused him. The main hero proudly serves the luxurious meal he prepared himself. Kana happily eats breakfast, admiring how skillfully he cooks. This time she praises his culinary skills, and he blushes and shyly accepts the compliment. Overflowing with joy, she feels as if all past troubles never happened, and accidentally spills food on herself. She stubbornly insists that she will wash her clothes herself, and he gently tells her not to worry. With a single light gesture, he activates his skill and her clothes instantly shine with cleanliness. Stains disappear as if they never existed, and he, smiling, hands her a new set of clothes made by hand. She asks where such clothing came from, and he only tells her to dress up, quietly thinking about Japan. She has never heard of Japan and recalls a hero who was called to fight the demon kings. He solemnly names himself Sarugi Sumeragi. She calls herself Kana and swears to be completely loyal to her new master. Sarugi asks to be shown the city, and she gladly agrees. Kana points out various shops and landmarks as they walk through the lively streets. She continues the tour, showing the best places for food, rest, and reading. He admits that he uses a disguise skill, and honestly says that his pockets are empty, so now he is thinking about what business to start. He suggests, "Let me become a cook." Their conversation suddenly breaks off. 2 figures stopped in front of them and blocked the way. He immediately recognizes them. These are the same men who followed him from the tavern. Kana's feeling is by no means hostile. It rather suggests they better look for another way to the destination. She says that during imprisonment, she briefly met the shop owner. Settles. The shop worker notices them from the opposite side of the street and loudly calls the owner. Grateful for their help, Kina sincerely offers to do everything she can for them. The shop owner calms down and sadly explains why opening a new restaurant is so difficult. Strict rules and tough competition make it almost impossible. Tsurugi interrupts him and insists that Settle try his food before rejecting the idea. He pulls out several types of onigiri each filled with powerful magic that temporarily boosts stats. He confidently states that this food will become a real hit among soldiers and adventurers, and proposes to join in partnership. Settle, still considering this possibility, confirms Tsurugi's name. Suddenly, two armed men approach them, who recognize Tsurugi from a previous meeting. They introduce themselves as vassals of Count Aba's and ask Tsurugi to accompany them. He turns to Kana and gives her a choice to go with him or stay, even if it might cause painful memories. She resolutely agrees to go, and they are escorted to the magnificent estate. Inside, the maid looks at Kana with pure hatred and accuses her of murder. Tsurugi calmly takes Kana's hand, silently supporting her. They are led to the living room, where a nobleman and a young woman are waiting. The man introduces himself as Count Dengaro Abas, and with him is his daughter Altalias. The count sincerely thanks Tsurugi for saving his daughter from bandits who attacked her carriage. Altel smiled and confirmed, "Yes, it is him. I sent my father's men to find him and promised a reward." The count offers a staggering 10 million gold coins and a family sword. Stunned by the generosity, Tsurugi learns that along with the reward comes a request for a favor. The count's gaze darkens. He asks Tsurugi to confirm whether Kana really killed his son Dolce. He frankly says he never believed she was guilty. He always suspected she was framed. He used his influence to commute her death sentence to slavery and gave her to a friend for her own safety. Kana is shocked to learn the truth behind her verdict. The count declares everyone in this room believes she is innocent. Then he resolutely asks Tsurugi to find the real killer of his son. A depressing silence fell as the count and Tsurugi carefully assessed each other. The guild master, Mr. Sumeragi, explains with a smile that he has completed all preparations for the sale of their new product. He shows a lucrative contract, 10,000 gold per month, and says that food that raises status is incredibly rare. But the protagonist frankly says, "I no longer need money." Instead, he hands the man an ornate short sword. Sumeragi falls to his knees, begging him to find the one who killed his son. The main character coldly confirms the essence of the request. The deal was made 50,000 gold immediately, and Canny's freedom will be safe once the real culprit is found. Altilias is wildly happy at the news that Hannah can work with her again. She says how much she missed the time when they were together. Acknowledging her loneliness, she listens as the main character solemnly accepts the dangerous task. Sumeragi, hearing from Commander Rotten about his skill, assures him of his loyalty. To himself, the main character mockingly smiles at the man's naivety and pretends to participate in this farce. And later they discuss the smoldering danger. He understands, by staying he will gain convenient access to the estate, and this matches the fervent desire of the fallen comrade. Sumeragi earnestly asks him to save Kana, and he agrees. Hildmeister noted that it seems he has begun to love saving people, and the hero immediately denied it. He knows there are still people who believe in Kana's innocence. He clenched his will and decided to get to the truth about what happened. After that, she firmly intends to leave her here in this city. Arriving at the magnificent estate, they learn with horror that Sumeragi is married and right now he is with the princess. The servant enthusiastically describes his ideal family, his beautiful wife and intelligent son. As they were walking down the corridor, the blonde man saw them and simply froze in shock. Recognizing the main character, the man angrily demands to know what he is doing here. He arrogantly declares that this mansion is not a place for commoners like them. The man lunged forward in blind rage, but he is met with a brutal blow and he flies away. Coughing up blood, the man is in shock. The attack had no effect at all. He shouts that he is already over level 300 and cannot be wounded, ordering the guards to seize the intruder. The guards draw their weapons and accuse the hero of attacking the archmage. Alti stepped between them, retreating a few steps, trying to defuse the situation. And suddenly an authoritative voice cut through the tension. Commander Rotten, burning with rage, demands to know why his men have drawn blades on an honored guest. Wounded Mage Dokkum whines that the main hero broke his bones. Dokkum weaves a pitiful tale, claiming he was only trying to protect Lord Sumeragi from an attack. He insists that he bravely parried the main hero's strike with his fist. Rotten mockingly laughs at this foolish lie. He knows that a real blow from Sumeragi would have completely shattered his hand. He recounts how he witnessed the terrible power of the main hero. One move was enough to instantly destroy the entire bandit squad. The commander coldly warned Dokkum, everyone who challenged this man met a grim fate. Brushing off the subordinate's nonsense, Rotten coldly ordered to take him to the medical station. One of the other guards mutters that it is a shame to serve alongside such a man. Unbearable stress suddenly caused Kana to faint. The main heroine suggested taking her to a room to rest. Commander Rotten apologizes profusely for what happened, but Sumeragi reproaches him for apologizing to a slave. The main hero notices the commander's sincerity as Rotten vows to restore his honor. Rotten says he came to discuss the incident, and the main character promises full cooperation. The investigation of the Count's son's murder begins. The maid nervously walks down the empty corridor. A young woman named Hannah looks back in shock. Angrily, the main character reviews the laughably incomplete report. He considers it completely useless, simply the result of either incompetence or corruption. He clearly feels that this is a conspiracy arranged by a very influential person. He contemplates the motives and concludes, someone is aiming at the status or wealth of the Abba's family. One question remains, why exactly Kana, just a student, became the scapegoat? He dreams of an ability that would simply expose the guilty and put an end to this farce. In another wing, the maid anxiously reports to the princess that Kana refuses to eat. In a flashback, the guard accuses Kana of the crime. Kanak confesses to the master her guilt. She is convinced that her weakness led to the boy's death. Her companion with a broken voice explains that if Kana had better mastered magic, she could have saved him. He takes her hand, and on his face is a firm expression. He asks her one single question that can change her life. Do you want to become strong? Through tears, she swears that she wants power more than anything. He immediately serves a luxurious banquet of magical food and orders her to eat everything to become stronger. While she was eating, she was struck by shock. Suddenly, she mastered wind magic. He notes that despite the colossal magical energy she absorbed, she gained only 2 skills. He decisively declares, her training and investigation will proceed simultaneously. From his outstretched hand, a whirlwind of dark energy spins. He began whispering a spell to summon a powerful spirit. From the shadow emerges a formidable Lick Hunter, and his incredible power is immediately visible. The summoning drains a significant portion of his magic. The Lick kneels and asks to be told the name in order to conclude his contract. The main character names his new base of servants. The magical power of this creature was overflowing immense, and its master has a task for it. The intelligent undead servant already knows what his lord desires. Base disappears into the shadows and immediately begins the search. Exhausted after the summoning, the main character simply collapses powerless. The princess enters the room, sensing a dangerous presence here. She smiled kindly and asked, "Call me Ali." Ali, worried, explains that she came to invite them for tea, having learned about Kana's condition. She is surprised to learn that Kana has already eaten, while the main character is admiring the garden with enthusiasm. Ali says that the garden is enchanted here, it is eternal spring. Kana hesitates to join, but the princess insists that she sit down. Ali warmly recalls how he drank tea here together with Dolce and Kana. Everyone begins to help themselves to tea. The main character raises the cup to his lips. He praises the delicious tea with admiration and whispers that it would be perfect if not for the poison. His skill in assessing is immediately confirmed. Deadly poison was applied to the rim of his cup. He directly approaches Ali and decisively asks, who is behind the attempt on his life? She confesses the official report is useless, it lacked the most important testimonies. Ali blurted out that a moment before he was killed, she heard Dolce talking with some man. She exploded with rage. The knights refused to record her testimony, saying that nothing could be heard through the door. He saw through her lie, knowing that her keen ears would have heard everything perfectly. His piercing gaze studies every one of her movements. The servants watch the confrontation tensely, not knowing what will happen next. At his call, the base Licha instantly emerges from the shadows. He gives a new order, investigate the personal maid of Princess Alla. The group feverishly tries to reconstruct the sequence of events, recalling that Dengaro had already left with his subordinates. The attack has not yet begun. Dolce was seen talking to someone in armor, and later Kana was ambushed when she tried to reach him. Now Kana is screaming in frustration over her weakness. An hour earlier, she had received from the protagonist a custom-made set of powerful high-tech equipment to protect her. He reminded her of her promise to do whatever it takes to become stronger. Their training was supposed to take place in the infamous, extremely dangerous Golfa forest. Without saying a word, he picked her up and rushed toward their goal. They find themselves in the dangerous forest, and Kana is still disoriented after the sudden rapid transfer. She stands powerless, none of her strikes hit any forest creature. A huge beast loomed over her, and she froze in horror, feeling completely powerless. He coldly informs her that this level 200 creature is just a field mouse, and asks if she is really ready to gain power. That's it, the first test is completed. The frame pulls back, the main hero stands opposite a mighty enemy, and Dolce La lies wounded on the ground. The girl was seriously wounded, and her life was slowly fading. Kana could only helplessly watch in horror as the tragedy unfolded. He unleashed a devastating barrage of fiery spears. The spell hit precisely and completely erased the target. Suddenly, a storm of level-up notifications crashes down on Kana. She cannot believe she defeated such a powerful monster. The main hero admits he left the monster with only 1 health point. He tells her that it was only a trial, their real training is just beginning. As if pressing Q, he summons healing items, anticipating the damage she is about to receive. Her expression turns into pure horror. A scream from the effort echoed through the forest. Later, he carried the unconscious Kana through the city streets, noticing her exhaustion after a whole day of running around and checking if she felt a little better. Suddenly, a man called out to him. The captain of the guard anxiously asks about Kana's condition, and I explain she is just sleeping after exhausting training in the nearby dungeon. The captain smiled upon hearing that she is working hard to overcome her past weakness. He insists on treating the main character to lunch at his favorite establishment. The main character nodded in response, and the captain warned him beware of the vagrants from the slums. They enjoy the meal together in the local tavern. The captain loudly boasts about how much alcohol he can handle. His showy bravery crumbles, he breaks down, blaming himself for Dalta's death and regrets not being there to protect her. The main character sharply interrupts him and says that he is wrong. The captain explains that although many knights left Dengaro, a few talented night mages remained in the manor. This only makes the mystery deeper. How could they have lured Dolce to go out alone on the street? The captain, concerned for his safety, offers to accompany him back to the manor. As they approach in the darkness, a skeletal lick awaits them and announces that he has long awaited his master. The skeletal figure greeted them. It had already been waiting for their arrival. He insisted that the main character see for himself what he had discovered. Around them, the room transformed into a virtual space, woven from the skeleton's own memories. A photo of a woman appeared on the screen. They recognized her. She was Dokkum's wife. This space was like an exact copy of Dokkum's office, down to the smallest details. The creature said that he had found exactly what the hero was looking for. The drawer suddenly slid open by itself, and a stack of documents appeared before their eyes. He picked up a letter addressed to Dokkum from some stranger named Irefusal. He broke the seal, and his companion watched this with anxiety. In the letter, written in black and white, it said, "Get rid of the cunning fox cub in exchange for the promise of a barony." His companion instantly realized that the letter concerned Dolce, because the skeleton noted how easily the necessary information could be restored. Then the main character took out a real sealed letter from his belongings. She froze, wondering if Dokkum knew the truth, but he was arrested before he could do anything. He calmed her down, explaining that this was a classic trap, the Baron's bait to frame a subordinate. He asked Kenna if she had heard of Count Irefusal, the one who had connections with the Abba's family. When he needed more information, the main character decided to call his agent. The shadow thickened and swore to be completely obedient to its master. Kenna stood frozen in incredible amazement, unable to accept the reality of what was happening. He had a terrible suspicion flash through his mind. Ali might also have been targeted, and he could already be poisoned. He was about to leave and before going out whispered to Kenna, "Eat and don't open the door to anyone." He threw on his hermit's cloak, a thing that made him invisible to people of lower rank. As soon as morning came, he slipped through the window and found himself in the city. He looked down at the knights, training. Their movements were clumsy and undisciplined. Their training resembled a relaxed sports club more than strict military exercises. He overheard several men grumbling that their captain was too harsh in his methods. Another captain enthusiastically spoke about the race of beastmen as the best, about the genius Goliath and the inspiring JD. And then the gossip turned to Captain Rotten, who was recently reprimanded by Dokkum. They whispered that after the death of the previous leader, Dokkum seized power and promoted his own people there. One of the knights instantly silenced the others, fearing that Dokkum's servants were eavesdropping. Walking the corridors, he overheard a few more everyday chats about the Adventurers Guild. The longer he watched, the clearer it became. Dokkum's influence was much stronger than he thought. And then he noticed a young fox boy, whom he recognized as Dal. The boy Cloud raised his head and seemed to recognize him too. The boy screamed in shock, looking past the main character. The woman greeted him warmly, and the boy asked who this stranger was. She introduced herself, Alicia, wife of Captain Rotten, and called the boy their son Cloud. The boy politely introduced himself, and his mother explained that he came to cheer them up after Dolce's death. The main character assessed the situation, and an unspeakable tension hung in the air. Alicia, as if casually, confessed that she was the niece of Count Irefusal, thus confirming his suspicions. From the neighboring room came a knock. They were invited to breakfast along with his companions. From behind the door came a polite question, would he join them? The group enters the restaurant, the very establishment, where the Rotten family constantly gathers with their servant Kamo. The bony servant asks the hero if something is bothering him, but he just waved it off. The woman with fox ears says that the Loughton family is a branch of the Abba's clan knights for generations. The hero was pondering the political situation in his thoughts, weighing whether Lawton or Cloud would become the next heir of the Dengaro family. While others argue about complicated family ties, the young warrior blushes and gets embarrassed by all these hints. The woman teases the boy with jokes about the upcoming wedding. He feels very awkward, and the main hero just silently observes. The next morning, the head of the house meets them at the luxurious breakfast table. He immediately asks where Kana is and learns that she did not open the door. He let the maid go and mentally decided that Kana was too weak she could be removed, and he agreed with that. Telepathically, like a quiet voice in his head, he decides to pour a drink for the maid Sumeragi and add a non-toxic poison to it. Sumeragi accepts the spoiled drink without a shadow of suspicion, not even guessing what is in it. Others fear whether it is safe to leave Kana alone, but the main hero just brushed off their fears. The head of the house turns to Shin and demands to be told how the investigation is progressing. The noblewoman announced that she entrusts Sumeragi with a renewed investigation of the Dolce murder case. She sighed with relief the princess and the palace were unharmed. The patriarch of the family said that he cannot disclose any details while the investigation is ongoing. The boy picks up this thought and insistently repeats that he cannot say anything more right now. And then the noble lady directly addresses Mr. Sumeragi. She, as if pleading, asks, "Is there any way to help with the investigation of Dalha's murder?" The young warrior swears, protecting the Abba's family is his life's purpose, and for this he trains tirelessly. He speaks of his deep admiration for Dolce and Alice, and of his burning desire to avenge the killer. Fearing that Alterius is the next target, he decides to protect her, despite considering himself weak. He confirms this and tells the boy, stay close to Alterius and guard her. The boy fervently swears to protect her, just as his father once swore. Meanwhile, Kana is sound asleep in her bed. The splash of water magic abruptly wakes her from sleep. The noisy new ally loudly greets the main hero, impatiently wishing to join. Women discussed Kano's new combat outfit. It is really effective, but perhaps a bit too revealing. They drag Kano away, leaving the main hero alone with his plans. The hero, with a heavy heart, tells an old acquaintance that he is going on a solo reconnaissance and leaves Hannah under his care. He and his skeleton servant appear in the middle of a gloomy desert landscape. The servant found 3 human bones and suggested that they might belong to the killer Dolce. The hero suspects that it could have been a dump-a-place where things were brought to erase evidence of a crime committed elsewhere. Having no other clues, the servant prepares to dispose of the remains. Returning to the city, Kano is fitted with an exquisite new dress. The shop owner announced that the main hero spent $1,000,000 gold on that outfit. Excited, Kano exclaims that the dress is a true treasure that she will save for special occasions. The main hero quietly watches from the street. Suddenly, as if out of nowhere, a stranger appears, grabs Kina, and mistakes her for some Sumeragi. The attacker lunged. His intentions were clearly hostile. He recognizes the main hero as a true Sumeragi and asks distrustfully, why is he with a slave? The man drew his blade and coldly declared that their lives were doomed, and the main hero ordered Kano to retreat. Kano explodes with rage. She was angered that this man ruined her master's precious gift. The main hero tensed, preparing for a strike, surprised by the sudden intervention. The swordsman from the Beast clan intercepts the attack with dazzling speed. The hired assassin is stunned by the ferocity of his new opponents. From the rooftops, the wizard unleashes a barrage of fiery spears at the man. Another ally summons tree magic. Roots burst from the ground and entangle the target. The defeated assassin was tied up. He is helpless, and the group demands an answer. Why was he targeted? The skeletal servant appeared and explained that the attack was meant to stop their investigation and silence Hannah. Holding a letter, the hero announced that he had the final proof. It was time to return to the manor. Hannah looks, and a firm determination has frozen on her face. When all the evidence is gathered, the main hero decisively decides to return to the Abba's family house. Inside, the lord of the house flared up with rage and could not believe that the real culprit was found. When the group of main heroes enters, the guard tries to stop them, but they effortlessly push him aside and pass by. The hero taunts the man he has already defeated, and his face twists into a mask of fury. Princess Sumeragi addressed the gathered nobles with a grim expression on her face. The ruler, the princess, and the captains of the 3 knight squads all are present. When everyone has gathered, the main hero finally prepares to reveal the truth he has discovered. The master swears to listen, desperately seeking answers, and the princess assures him that he will not regret it. The main hero orders the guards to securely lock the room so that no one interferes. Then he summons the terrible skeletal lick. His dark energy fills the hall. The knights instantly became alert. They were stunned by the sudden appearance. The lord shouted in alarm when a monstrous creature loomed over them. The captain shouted for everyone to retreat. He sensed a terrible danger. The presence of the lick is palpable, a cold aura of death that makes even hardened warriors tremble. The bony creature calls itself Baze, a subordinate acting on the orders of its master. It raises its hand, preparing to perform a forbidden ritual. With a surge of spiritual energy, the lick begins the summoning ritual. The air trembles, and before him appears the ghostly figure of Dulce. The spectators froze in silence, not believing whether this was truly the soul of the deceased boy. The princess notices the ghost is so ethereal and transparent that the living cannot touch it. To make sure who is before her, she asked the spirit a question that only the real Dulce would know. The The spirit answers precisely and confidently, confirming who he is, and the boy's father stands stunned and speechless. The spirit Dulce tearfully asks forgiveness from the father and sister for leaving them so early. He speaks of his regret and sorrow, lamenting that he could not protect them. The main hero abruptly interrupts the touching reunion and asks the grieving lord if he may continue. He turns to the spirit of Dolce and asks the most important question: was Kana his killer? The spirit answered instantly and unequivocally, she no. He confesses that Kaina tried to save him even before he was suddenly attacked by 3 unknown men. The captain of the knights protests, but the lord silences him and demands to hear the whole story. The main hero confirms that those 3 attackers were from the slums. The lord angrily exclaimed that those men had long fled the city. The main hero calmly, without unnecessary emotion, refutes his claim. He shows the 3 killers now lifeless puppets under his control, and the whole room froze in shock. The knights recognize one of them as a key witness, the very one who testified against Kana. Overcome with rage, the lord rushed forward to kill his son's killers. The hero stops him and says that those men are already dead, attacking them is pointless. Though his anger has not yet subsided, the lord agrees to move forward to find the one who planned everything. The hero confirms there are others involved and prepares to expose the real culprit. He asks the spirit Dolce, who deceived him beyond the city walls that day. Then he sharply orders his 3 undead servants to name the one who gave them orders. He gives the final command and points to the person responsible for it. 4 ghostly and undead hands rose in unison, their fingers aimed at one target. They all pointed directly at one of the knight captains, revealing him as the mastermind of the operation. The accused Captain Gibbon froze in genuine, unfeigned horror. The main hero fervently demands to know who ordered Dolce's murder. He ordered the prisoners to point to the one who planned everything, if that person is in the room. All fingers point to one guard Jabin, and he immediately denies it, insisting it is a setup. He desperately pleads his innocence and insists that this is a complete misunderstanding. But before he could explain, another man lunged forward and knocked down G-Band without any warning. The attacker smashes Gibbon's head against the floor so he cannot escape. Crushed, Gibbon admits that he was only following orders. Suddenly, a blade pierced his chest and he fell silent forever. The noble Dokkum questions the attacker, who says he just pushed G-Band down. The man insists he simply missed when trying to detain the alleged killer. Dokkum Raijas revealed that he was already keeping G-Bound under control using a spell. The main hero sneers contemptuously at his foolishness and says he could have just stopped the spell. He summons a skeletal figure and says that Gibbon's soul can now be interrogated. The soul cannot lie. He coldly thanks Dokkum for his help in this matter. The main hero leaves the last word to the count. He can interrogate the spirit or simply drop the case. Their gazes locked in a tense confrontation. The count asks the soul of Gibbon who gave the order, and the spirit whispers the name of his master Dachum. Exposed, Dokkum grabs the maid Hannah and confesses that he did it for a promise of promotion. He threatens to kill his hostage if anyone takes another step. The main character stands unshaken and asks if the life of one maid is worth serving as a shield. The princess begs him to stop, but Dokkum coldly says that sacrificing a servant is a trifle for the ambitions of a nobleman. Hannah calms her lady, do not worry, but the princess refuses to leave her. Dokkum fiercely grabs the servant and tells her to be silent. Then he twists another lie, claiming that Hannah threatened him and that she is actually guilty. The monster can make the warriors roar so that their lord punishes the traitor. One of the guards, Goliath, rushed forward, cut off Dokkum's hand, and freed Hannah in a fountain of blood. Goliath clutches his own severe wound, realizing that his fate is decided. Dokkum shouts at the maid, demands help, and grimly threatens her with consequences of disobedience. The beastfolk chieftain stands over the fallen nobleman, his blade at the ready. He confesses that he killed Jabin because he was terribly afraid that he would be framed for this murder. Dokkum desperately denies everything and insists that the protagonist is manipulating them all. But the protagonist says that a trial is unnecessary when no one can trust the words of a merchant. A paper airplane, one of the hero's creations, quietly floats down and lands next to the princess. She sees an inscription on it. A letter to Dokkum, enthusiastically congratulating him for neutralizing the killers. The letter contains a promise to make him a barren, undeniable proof of the conspiracy. The beastfolk lord suddenly realizes this letter must be from Count Arafusel. Faced with the evidence, Dokkum finally admits his guilt. The protagonist exposes the full scale of the conspiracy. Count Fusel is the very mastermind who ordered Dokkum to kill Dolce. The plan was simple. If everything failed, to pin the blame on Jiban, and the other part was entrusted to another person. In the second stage, they stage a robbery under its cover. They must kill another nobleman so that a member of the Fusel family can take his place. The group is racking their brains. Who from the Fuso family is capable of pulling off such a plan? The letter shockingly exposes the last conspirator. It is addressed to the dear niece of the Count, Alicia. The rotten warrior is stunned. He suddenly realized that Alicia Cloud is behind the conspiracy. A young boy named Cloud rejects the future of the Count and instead dreams of becoming a knight to protect his family. Suddenly, a man named Rotten appeared before the gloomy scene and demanded to know what was happening here. Then Cloud's mother Alicia froze in horror. She realized that this terrible situation was real. Her husband burst through the door, his face twisted in pain. A young noblewoman watches from afar as chaos unfolds. The summoned hero Altaris and his squad tensely observe the confrontation. In the garden, Cloud calls his father. The night when Rotten cast his icy gaze on his own wife and child. Alicia in horror. Her husband is involved and he grimly confirms her worst suspicions. He loudly declared that, being a knight of the Abbasid lineage, he must kill her on the spot. But before his blade could descend, young Khmar bravely parries the attack. The boy was no match for his father. The latter felled him with a single cruel blow. Alicia embraces her son, covered in blood, and thinks only of one thing. Has her husband lost his mind? Rotten orders her to step back, but Cloud boldly proclaims, "Night is the time to protect the weak." The princess commands Rotten to immediately stop this madness. Overwhelmed by conflict, the knight's resolve finally cracks. He drops the sword, apologizing to his wounded son. He kneels at his feet and lays the weapon on the ground. He solemnly addresses his lord and with a heavy heart begs forgiveness for this failure. He confessed he could not bring himself to kill his wife. To atone, he presses the blade to himself, a shocking sight. He says he will pay for his failure with his own life. Cloud screams in despair, seeing his father fall. While the boy holds his dying father, the guards desperately call for a healer. Altaris and his companion exchanged a grim, silent glance. Kina rushed forward, ignoring the warning that her skills were insufficient. She gathers immense magical energy within herself, preparing to cast a powerful spell. A blinding light explodes as she releases another healing spell. The dazzling glow of high-level magic stunned everyone who watched. They can only watch in awe at the incredible display of power. The healing succeeded. Rotten is unconscious, but his life is saved. Cloud sobs with relief as his mother gently comforts him. The Lord exposes the true puppeteer. Alicia's uncle planned Dolce's murder. Alicia confesses. Upon learning about Dolce's death, she was forced to enter into this conspiracy. The Lord, in fury, shouts to his general to prepare the armies for war. But Dolce himself appears, steps forward, and stands in the way of this order. The Lord froze in surprise, not understanding why the boy dared to stop him. Dolce fervently begs to stop the war. He refuses to allow people to suffer because of him. He looks at Altaris and this confirms it. There was no other way, only this could save Hannah and expose the true villain. The boy turned back and sincerely thanked Kana. He looks at the tearful healer and says that her efforts saved a life, so she should smile. The team breathed a bittersweet calm for a moment. Dolce says he is glad finally he managed to say a proper goodbye. In his last request, he begs the Lord to continue protecting the city and all its people. The nobleman thoughtfully looked at the consequences. The Messiah is dead, Kana is free, and Abba's influence has diminished. At first, standing by the window, the main character firmly says again, his mission was never a choice. He decides to defeat the old man and the god who rules this world. Meanwhile, Kenny is told that she is now free and that their paths must part. She quietly accepts her freedom. The head of the house presents her with a new set of clothes, a gift in honor of her return. Kana accepts the improved outfit, still calling the main character her master. The nobleman solemnly thanks him for the invaluable help in their conflict. The main character says that Dockham and his associates have been captured, and this has undermined the power of the Abba's family. The nobleman promised to convey the truth about Abuse's evil deeds to the royal family, but admitted that one formal complaint is not enough. The main character presses him, gather more evidence because shameful rumors about their enemy are already spreading. A new deal was made. The hero was promised 30 million gold for continuing to serve. The nobleman agrees and sighs with relief. He will not have to risk his own troops in a direct war. Then the main character pulls out a stack of papers, irrefutable evidence of Eric Fusel's crimes. He has the evidence, the handwriting is confirmed. He finally believes that the request has been fulfilled. The nobleman assures him that Kana's room has been preserved for her if she ever wants to return. Arteris warmly welcomes Kina, who has returned. After she was served tea and some food, she was frankly told she needs to sign papers so that her return to the family is recorded. Arteris leads her to the guest room. Ahead is a meeting with her father. But standing before them, Kana suddenly hesitates. She says she wants to continue following her master and begs to be made his slave again. She explains that she sees deep loneliness in his eyes, the loneliness she knows all too well from her past pain. Kana directly begs him to take her with him on this journey. He warns her that his path is dangerous and the plans are terrible, but she remains determined. She swears to give her life for his cause, ready to challenge the world and even God to stay by his side. Moved by her determination, Arteris defended Kana's choice, and her father, shaking his head, spoke of her incredible devotion. Arteris celebrates his decision with a sincere embrace. The main hero understands that this will create a new problem. And at that very moment, a man entered the room, leading a beastman in chains, and explained that she was supposed to replace Kana. The main hero froze and a crushed voice revealed the truth. This very girl had recently tried to kill him. The nobleman calmly says that he knows all the circumstances. He explains that she was also a victim. She was forced into this because Dakim took her sister hostage. As punishment, they decided to give her to the very man she tried to kill. Arteris asks Kana for her opinion and emphasizes that the girl had no other choice. While Hannah hesitates, the main hero coldly refuses and suggests a harsher punishment for the one who tried to kill. Kana immediately protests, sincerely sympathizing with the girl's helplessness and blaming their common enemy for this tragedy. Arteris decisively declares, if he does not take the girl, she will buy her. Instead, he feels responsible for this. The hero finally yields and allows the killer to follow him but sets one strict condition. She must obey his orders without question. She quietly agrees to his terms. The girl swears to give her life and obey only his orders. With his new comrades nearby, the team finally formed. The noble lord nervously reminds him of the law, and the main character assures that it is only for show. He insistently tells them to prepare for departure. There is still so much work ahead. Suddenly, a status window appeared on the screen. It showed Anna's data, level 28 Brawl King. Dingaro asks Sumeragi for a favor for the sake of his soldiers. He says their fighting spirit is broken and begs Sumeragi to train them. Elsewhere, a little boy carries food to his father's locked door and begs him to return. He waits silently, but there is no answer. Summoning his courage, the boy opens the door. He froze when suddenly Sumeragi and his squad appeared before him. The main character asks about a man nicknamed Rotten and the boy confesses. His father is upstairs. Sumeragi did not waste time and kicked the door so hard that it flew off its hinges. He stands before Rotten and directly says that Dengar wants him to train the knights. Sumeragi grabbed the disgraced captain and, consumed by rage, demanded that he resign from his position. The boy runs in, calling for his father. He tries to defuse the situation and says to his father, "It's okay." The princess vouches for her lord and begs Rotten to trust him. From below came the desperate cries of a soldier begging his captain to return. Without his leadership, they feel completely lost. But Rotten is paralyzed by his past defeats and feels unworthy to lead others. His companion fervently asks Sumeragi to intervene. The hero boiled with rage inside. How could he also have to deal with this when he was forced to fight for his own life? He suggests Rotten can master his skills and then teach others. Sumeragi shouted that the training starts right now. They are heading to the Bullet Forest. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the capital of the kingdom of Luca Sandale. A sudden cry of pain pierced the air. There the exhausted hero is healing, and he is coldly told that in this state he will never be able to defeat the demon lord. He breaks free, tired of being forced to fight in a foreign world. The healer Suzanen feels helpless. She thinks her only use is just to heal wounds. She glanced at Tsukuru. He is training alone again. Her friend teases her about her feelings for the boy, but she stubbornly insists. He is just a childhood friend. The friend smiles and reassures her. With his level S luck, everything will be fine. She silently agrees. In the depths of the forest, Samaragi calms Gana. The soldiers will survive. The medical supplies he left will save them. Hannah asks to join the training, but he refuses, says their next mission is to save her sister. They reach the Fusel estate. That's where she is held captive. Sumeragi reassures once again, the life of the hostage is above all. Hannah thanks her master with all her heart. Using their skills, the team disappears to the naked eye and stealthily slips past all patrols. They quietly slipped into Garrosh's mansion, and the guards didn't even suspect. The interior turned out to be even more tasteless than they imagined, and was decorated with a golden statue of the owner. Suddenly, a skeleton-like familiar appeared, and informed the group that the target Sanya is in the underground chamber. The undead brazenly boasts that no wall will stop its movement. They reach the chamber, but the skeleton has no keys. Sumeragi gathers all his incredible strength to break the lock, and Hannah rushes to her wounded sister. He agrees she must be taken out of here right now. Hannah shouts the name of her sister. She embraces the limp body of her brother or sister to herself, while Sumeragi and others only watch. He recalls his terrible past, the time when happiness was torn from his hands and shattered right before his eyes. In the world to which he was summoned, even the most important thing was stolen from him, the right to life. A memory of a girl named Ayumi surfaces, and again you painfully feel her loss. He remembers the sinister laughter of the figure in the cloak, standing over the fallen body. Meanwhile, in the quiet, majestic world, the goddess notices what a pleasant day it is and pays tribute to the efforts of Sumeragi Tsukurusen. She luxuriates in the peace of her kingdom. But this thing is fragile, and she carries deep sorrow in her heart, for she knows it came at a great sacrifice. Looking into the divine mirror, she sees a terrifying vision. The image suddenly shattered into pieces. Her servant anxiously warns that the world stands on the brink of the end. The goddess immediately orders the spacetime wall to be repaired. She tells that for centuries people have been taken from Japan in a mysterious phenomenon known as summoning. Each event weakens the walls between worlds, and now they are on the verge of complete collapse. A corrupted god from another world conducts a mass summoning of over 100 people, a ritual that will tear the barrier. She decides to intervene and focuses all her attention on one, summon the one who has almost no influence. To help him survive, she grants him culinary power related to his hobby cooking, and fills him with insane luck. She gives him a blessing of power that will remain sealed until his body can withstand its immense might. Tsukuro, the man she chose, declares that he has been waiting for this chance to punish the rotten gods. The goddess vows to help him. Those who sacrifice her world will not escape retribution. Returning to the present, a young beast girl brings Tsukuro a towel and fresh water. She vigilantly watches over him while he rests. He silently sits by the fire and she sleeps in the chair nearby. Suddenly, he is overwhelmed by a vision of returning to his old home. He suddenly remembers a note from his sister, Ayumu. She was planning a banquet to celebrate his exam. He remembers entering the kitchen, hearing music, and feeling confused. The memory takes him back to a painful call. The phone informs him about a terrible accident. He sees a funeral photos of his family who died in a head-on collision. His life shattered into pieces, and he was left completely alone. The phone pulled him back to the present, but he is still lost in painful memories. The woman tells him that Sonya has woken up, and he quietly nods. A young beast girl enters, addressing him as master. She is endlessly grateful for being saved and reunited with her sister again. Using his unique skill, he prepared a simple, easily digestible dish for her to recover. Overwhelmed with emotion, she thanks him again. He offers her a spoonful of the steaming dish. Her face shines when she exclaims how delicious it is. Looking at her, Ayumu appears before his eyes, her cold, broken body that he saw with his own eyes. Suddenly he called Sanya. She shuddered. He asks if she has ever heard of a country called Japan, but the name is unfamiliar to her. She explains that she and her sister have spent their whole lives in service and remember nothing before that. Tsukuro fell silent and did not ask any more questions. Her sister pleadingly asks him to eat, but he ignores her. He abruptly stands up and goes down the stairs. Kanan follows him and asks why he has been acting so strangely since he met Sanya. He admits that he mistook Sonya for an acquaintance, but waved it off, saying it was just a misunderstanding. He sharply switches and says they need to hurry to the Bull Forest to meet Ratten-sama. Kanan asks him, "Tell me the truth when you are ready." He agrees and his face is gloomy. In the vast forest of Bora, the Beastman commander gathers his troops to fight the monstrous threat. He growls the order, "Fight to the death, there will be no retreat." The hero and his companion froze, watching as the knights charged into battle against the enemy. They loudly swear to fight for the honor of their house. With a final joint assault, the knights defeated the enemy and felt a surge of power. A colossal bird crashes to the ground with a roar, its gigantic body causing the forest to fall silent. The victors joyfully exclaimed that after they had slain the level 140 beast, they had nothing left to fear. They decide to hold a festive feast to solemnly celebrate their great victory. Returning to the city, they approach the grand gates of the manor. The Beastman commander Lauten loudly announces that his duty is now fulfilled. He explains that he cannot enter his clan once offended the Pan, but the mission's task is completed. The main hero admits that Lauten has grown up and become stronger, a compliment the commander modestly brushed off. But suddenly, the master of the house appears. He insists that allowing such a high-level warrior to roam freely is too dangerous. He gives Lauten a new goal to lead the newly formed city guard unit. The master of the house is the one who tames beasts that threaten the territory and protects the people. He sees great potential in Lauten and says that losing such a promising knight would be a great loss. Deeply moved, Lauten accepts the position and swears loyalty. The young page, with tears in his eyes, thanks and vows to serve with his life. In the manor, the team savors the hard-earned meal. It turned out that the wolf girl recovers much faster, a pleasant side effect of this powerful food. The hero makes his masterful move. A letter exposing the corruption of the previous count has already reached the king. He extends his hand to the two wolf girls, inviting them to stand beside him and promising protection and food. The younger girl desperately begs, "Don't leave me." He accepts them into his team, and she simply shines with joy. Before setting off, they review the catalog so that the newcomers have all the necessary equipment. While they make the final preparations, the host of the house approaches. The noble family sees them off, extending a permanent invitation to return. The daughter gives the hero a family dagger, a symbol of their bond, begging him to take care of himself. Then she hugs the wolf girl. A sincere, touching moment arises between them. She speaks to them gently, "You are forever like sisters to me, and this is your home." The main hero and his friends silently watch this touching farewell. Having said goodbye, the company turns and sets off. The main hero looks ahead. He has iron determination, and they set out on the road. His companion asks where they are heading, and is stunned to learn that they are returning to the Great Boar Forest. He explains that their new allies need to be trained. They are not yet ready for the battles ahead. He strictly stopped their joyful excitement, and reminded them of the seriousness of their journey. Suddenly, a shadow flew overhead. A huge bird was spotted in the sky. The whole team raises their heads and instantly tenses. The silhouette of the creature looms over them like a dark omen against the clouds. The companions shouted in fear that such a creature should not be so close to people. And then they see it is not one, but a whole squadron of majestic birds flying in formation. Their route is direct and determined. They are rushing straight to the city of Algiers. The group looks up to the sky. From there emerges a huge bird, a creature that should live only deep in the great wolf forest. The giant bird creature flies straight to the city of Arglia. One of his companions exclaimed that she would destroy it and cast a spell of fiery spear. Her magic, infused with wind, exploded into a fiery vortex and instantly engulfed the monster. Conan catches the mage at the moment of her descent, and the twins do not hide their admiration. Suddenly, one of the girls shouted for him to look back behind him. A monster burst out of the darkness, its claws aiming at the two hanging in the air. Suddenly, a skeletal figure appeared, blocking the attack and warning. A horde of monsters is approaching. Kanan understands. Even with powerful allies, the city will suffer casualties if they do not start acting. He decisively decides to intercept the horde here and now, and orders the others to stand behind him. The mighty sorceress casts a glance at the approaching swarm. With just a whisper of a spell, she unleashes a destructive storm of flames that burns everything to ashes. The twins watch in awe, stunned by the destructive power of her magic. One wants to ask, could they also become that strong if they train diligently? The hero loudly announced, training starts right now. He orders Hannah to kill the silver elephant of level 230. He will use Darkbind to weaken the beast, leaving her the chance to deliver the final blow. Hannah instantly activates several enhancement skills, her body glowing with power, and she rushes forward. She delivered a devastating blow, but from the recoil of her own enhanced strength, she herself was severely injured. She falls, and level-up notifications explode in the air while her sister screams her name in horror. He explains that the human body is too fragile for her immense strength, and offers her a dish prepared with his highest culinary skill. He warns pale Hannah, if you don't eat this immediately, you will die. Her sister desperately stuffs food into her mouth, begging her to swallow. Blinding light bursts from Hannah's body, and her wounds begin to heal. Within seconds, her hand is fully restored again, and she apologizes for causing trouble. The mage enthusiastically says how kind their master is to Hannah. He says that Hannah doesn't know how to heal unlike the mage, whom he had to train much more harshly. His companion hands out rice balls that increase endurance, preparing everyone for the next battle. The main character points to Sanya, her target Sulfaria of level 2020, warning her not to be reckless. Sanya nods and throws himself into battle with a monster resembling a plant. He observes their perfect combat synchronization and notices with horror. When her sister is wounded, Sanya also gets injured. Their connection is unnatural, and he decides to get to the source of this strange attachment. The beast lunged forward and slashed Sanya's arm. Shouting her name, a painful memory suddenly flashed in his mind. In an instant, he teleports behind her and takes the blow that was meant for her. Sanya turned around stunned and asked if her master was okay. He gently reassures her, saying the wound is not serious and that he is just glad she is safe. He tells her keep fighting with renewed passion. After the battle, the company finally enjoys a large, truly well-deserved curry dinner. The main character arranges a huge feast with dishes, snacks, and a sweet dessert for his comrades. Kanano is served a ridiculously huge special portion. He notices how she carefully avoids the raw onions and suddenly feels a hidden presence nearby. Late that night, the Lick whispered to him in his thoughts, noticing that since he met Sanya, he has been restless. The ancient creature mocks him, hinting that he has fallen in love with a girl and now suffers. The main hero fiercely rejects the accusation, his hand tightly gripping the blade. His bony companion says it's just a joke, don't be so nervous. Suddenly, the hero raises his aura and feels a powerful new presence. A sudden surge of energy tore the others from sleep. Outside, they were met by two threatening figures, one of whom called them a human tribe. An otherworldly woman accuses them, saying that they are the ones who damaged the forest. A mysterious elf appeared and asked who damaged her forest, while nearby a skeletal figure warned its master, "Run." The main heroine instantly recognizes the immense power emanating from her. His Lick Bays retreats into the shadows to avoid direct confrontation. The elf declares the forest a sanctuary and demands that it atone for what has been done. She rushed forward and shouted that he would pay with his life. He barely manages to fend off the sudden, fierce attack. She is clearly surprised that he was able to block her strike while he asks, why this unprovoked attack? Ignoring his pleas, she coldly says that his sins are too heavy, and his defensive power for a human is simply incredible. He insists that he was just defending himself, and she mocks that foolish mortal. The elf bursts with energy again and says that he could die without pain. She flies and controls wind magic, and he realizes he cannot approach, so he activates his skill evaluation. The results are stunning. She is Antie, an ancient elf of level 415, the founder of her entire lineage. Now he understands. She is the progenitor of elves and her level is more than 100 higher than his. Ignoring his questions, she indifferently says, "Just die," and summons two giant tornadoes. The main character finds himself trapped between fiercely roaring whirlwinds. He fights to withstand the overwhelming power of the storm. His comrades helplessly stand at the edge of the forest, shouting his name. They know if they enter, they will only become a burden, so they can only wait and believe in him. An inner voice whispers to him, "Stop fixating on defense and look closely at the opponent." Thrown to the ground, he cries, lamenting that in this world he is always forced to bend to someone else's will. Overcome with pure defiance, he decides not to die until he crushes them all, unleashing dark and woody magic. Antio looks down, somewhat impressed that he is still resisting. He breaks through the storm and it disdainfully brushes him off, calling his efforts futile. His strike did hit, but instead only splattered her with her own blood. In a moment he creates dozens of clones, who swarm at her from all sides. The doubles descend on her synchronously in a coordinated attack. She mockingly looks at the treacherous illusions and prepares to crush them all with one blow. Stunned, she hears his quiet whisper, "You would have won if only you could have defeated them all." With one decisive blow, he declares the end of the fight. His wild, instinctive move still blazes, and he stands over the fallen elf founder. She notices that he did not deliver the final strike, explaining that her second life skill prevents her from dying. She admits that she will die if he strikes again, and asks why he hesitates. It is the natural law of combat. He notices she has her own circumstances, and he so wishes she had just talked to him from the very beginning. Antio quietly laughed in response to his words. She finally introduced herself Antie, the ancient elf, and only now realized the power she had challenged. When she asks his name, he replies, "Sakru Sumeragi," and she solemnly surrenders to him. She gives herself to him completely, saying, "Do with her whatever you please." His squad rushes forward, and Sonya is ready to fight to protect her master from this new captive. Antio then asks if he intends to drive her to furious rage and hunt her like the other monsters. A strange question completely confuses his comrades. He admits that he did not listen to her before, and this makes her ask if she can now explain the situation. At that very moment, Basie emerges from the shadows, ready to report something important about the Great Wolf Forest. The group stands together, ready to finally hear the truth. The bony familiar tightly embraced his master. The duty was fulfilled. The undead knight reported the findings from the Great Wolf Forest. He checked everything by order of his lord. The protagonist wondered if the familiars were to blame for the invasion of rabid monsters, but quickly dismissed this thought. The familiar explained that he came across traces of exiled monsters and felt a barely noticeable but remarkably clear aura of a demon. The Elven Queen confirmed, "Some demons can control monsters, so now they are not enemies." To atone for disturbing them, she sincerely offers them shelter in a hidden elven village. When they arrived, the elves gladly welcomed their queen Antie at home. Antie strictly orders her subjects to tidy the rooms and prepare food for their guests. She gently soothes the young beastfolk, promising them a safe and quiet night's sleep. The group is led through the settlement, a place that steadfastly maintains neutrality towards the outside world. Antie explains, "The elves of course desire peace but have sworn to intervene if demons interfere." The protagonist feels the full weight of the situation. The demonic threat would force both humans and beastfolk tribes to act. Antie sternly warned him not to underestimate the danger. It is much more complicated than just one renegade demon. Then she begins to tell an ancient story, a tale that reaches back millennia. It was a great war against giants and demons, where 4 tribes fought in alliance and lost an entire continent. Even in these peaceful times, the tribes of the Quadruple Alliance have been secretly building up their military strength. She reveals, the human tribe has behaved suspiciously for the last 100 years. This could spark a new continental war. If this demon is the first sign of a new attack, Antie resolutely declares that they will not allow history to repeat itself. She insists the Quadruple Alliance must become one again to repel the looming threat. But the main character sits apart from the group, completely unmoved by the grim news. Despite Antie's fervent plea for an alliance, he inwardly admitted he couldn't care less about her cause. Conan approaches and finds him right by the water. She asks if he is willing to cooperate with the elves, but he categorically refuses. She instinctively guesses he is not from this world. Kynan recalled rumors about summoned heroes and about one who was rejected, a hero with the same name. He confirmed her suspicions, confessed that he was never considered one of them. He was abandoned in the Great Wolf Forest simply because he was a cook and couldn't fight. He tells about the hell he went through, surviving only to take revenge on those who betrayed him, not to save the world. Conan argues fiercely, reminding him that he saved her and countless others in the city of Algria. She took his hand and said that for her and the people he saved, he is a true hero. Tears well up in her eyes. She swears she will never forgive those who wronged him. Sanya and the others appear they overheard the entire conversation and join her feelings in unison. The protagonist froze in surprise when he realized that his entire party was eavesdropping. Hannah teases him saying everyone adores you so much and asks to join his journey. Even the queen of the elves offers her help, saying that her knowledge will be invaluable for his cause. All the girls surrounded him in a crowd, and Conan flusteredly fusses amid this chaos. Antier remains alone, immersed in thoughts about what the summoning of heroes truly means. She questions the real purpose of this assembly, as there is no obvious threat that would justify such an extreme measure. Suddenly, the earth itself began to tremble and crack. A colossal stone figure emerges from beneath the ground. Its grandeur makes the forest look tiny. The group found themselves in a peaceful elven grove, surrounded by crystal-clear waters. While the main character and his team rest, the elf announces that their lunch is ready. His beastly companion is delighted. She literally glows with impatience to taste the dish prepared by the elves. To their great surprise, the elves serve the main course, a huge roasted insect, caught especially for them. The main hero and the Samter team froze in stunned silence, horrified by this dish. Nearby, an elven child gently asks her immortal Lady Antier to eat before she goes to observe humans. Antier whispers to her sword that she will return in 100 years for her. It is only a moment, but for a human, an entire eternity. The company whispered, none of them could even imagine that they would have to eat insects. But the elves gladly encouraged them to eat, and one cheerfully admitted that she often ate them when she got lost in the forest. The main hero looks with grim resignation, seeing no way out. He quickly enters, thanks the elves for their hospitality, and as a sign of gratitude, offers to prepare food for everyone. The elves froze in shock. How does he even plan to cut that creature if its shell is too tough even for ordinary people? Deciding to put on a show, he draws his blade to demonstrate his skill. With one motion, he slices the shell as if it were iron, and the elves froze at his strength. But with masterful precision, he prepares the feast. He serves a perfectly cooked dish. His culinary skill transformed that ugly creature into a true masterpiece. His comrades are delighted. They exclaim that the food is simply incredibly tasty. But the hero cannot hold back criticism to himself. The elves overcooked the meat on the first try. When they finished eating, his comrades moved closer, and with sincere curiosity in their voices, asked what he would do next now that the training was over. He decisively admits, his goal is a raid on the rough empire in the south, but he is immediately told that the path is blocked. It seems his comrades look worried, and as if asking whether he even knows the geography of this world. One of them notes that when he first got out of the forest, he was going in the completely wrong direction. Calling him hopeless, the elf leader hands him a map of the continent, but it explains how the continent is arranged. Its lands are divided among elves, humans, and the central territory of the dwarf beastfolken. It shows where they are now in the Great Wolf Forest and points to the distant Raid Crud Empire. They offer the most reliable route through two neighboring kingdoms, and the main character recognizes one of them. It is where a Chinos was sold. Conan confirms that the route is safe. She has already traveled it before and there were no problems. The decision is made. We set off along the proposed path. Suddenly, their plans were interrupted by an elf who ran inside with an urgent warning. They raise their eyes to the sky and see a massive object, like a falling meteor rushing straight at them. The whole village runs out to see this terrifying spectacle. One of his companions steps forward and decisively says she will intercept it with her magic. The leader of the elves offers help and suggests combining fire and wind spells, so their strike will be the most powerful. They release a swirling vortex of destructive energy at the descending threat. The mighty combined spell shot into the sky to collide with the object head-on. Their magic touches the colossal mass, but to their horror, the attack could not even slow it down. The thing effortlessly breaks through their spell. It crashes into the forest with devastating force, and it turns out to be an entire mountain. His squad sighed with relief. The village did not suffer a direct hit. The elf leader is enraged. She vows to take revenge on everyone who dared to damage her sacred forest. When the dust settles, a towering figure slowly emerges from the crater. Before them stands an ancient giant named Crafton, his appearance like a declaration of war. They drew a line in the sand. The defenders swear to protect the forest at any cost. Their enemy turned out to be a ship on the ancient giant. The huge warrior laughs mockingly at Antier's tiny stature. The main hero scrutinizes his opponent, a high-class demolition specialist, but without hesitation pushes him away as a coward who previously begged for help. Crafton accuses the hero of organizing the recent monster invasion and insists on knowing his ultimate goal. Antier rages and asks why he appeared here, and the giant only says he came to check on her when her presence disappeared. He smirked, clearly understanding that she had lost her second life. Kraft charged forward with a lunge and loudly declared that this would be their last meeting. But with a lightning-fast move, the hero flips in the air and intercepts the attack. His blade bit into the giant's hand. The first blood was spilled. Stunned by the sudden attack, Crafton demands to know who attacked him. The hero calmly says, "It was I who took Antier's second life. I will deal with that giant myself." He roars with rage, declaring his absolute hatred for the mighty tyrants who trample the weak. Kraft freezes in surprise. He does not understand why he is defending the very person he just defeated. The main hero mockingly laughs. You can't appreciate my strength, or are you just afraid? He throws the last mocking ultimatum. Apologize for destroying the forest and he will be spared. The giant responds with a mocking colossal swing of his weapon, but the hero effortlessly dodges. The spectators suddenly realized that this was his plan from the very beginning to lead the Titan away from the others. While evacuating civilians, all they can do is pray for his safety. Crafton lost patience because of those dodges and sternly demanded that he stop dodging and start fighting. The main hero mocks the giant's clumsiness and brings the blade to a real duel. His sword scrapes against the giant's rough skin, and Crafton brushes it off for him. It was just a minor itch. He boasts that the human blade is worthless to him, claiming the first strike hit only because he was caught off guard. Irritated by the opponent's agility, the giant smashed the ground where he had just stood. He roars that such agile moves are useless against his invincible strength. Another devastating blow completely missed. The hero suddenly appears behind his enemy and coldly warning says, "Prepare yourself." Excited by the challenge, the giant roars in anticipation of a direct fight. The hero executes without hesitation, unleashing a destructive move, a powerful hellish slash. The attack explodes with a dazzling flash of destructive energy. The shockwave pushed the spectators back. They staggered from the incredible force of the blow. They watch in disbelief, trying to comprehend the catastrophe unfolding before them. From the smoke emerges Crafton, laughing, and greets the boy the first to survive the attack. His figure changes, he reveals his true face as the founder of the giant tribe, and sternly demands to know the name of his opponent. The hero introduces himself Tsukuru Sumeragi, a human. Crafton thoughtfully asks himself whether humanity has spawned another ancient creature. So Kuru waved it off, saying he is just an ordinary person. The giant sees through the lie but waved it off. It doesn't matter, because Tsukuru made him serious. He throws a strike with dazzling speed. The pressure wave hits before the fist itself and throws Tsukuru off balance. He is thrown to the ground, bleeding, and Crafton explains that his carelessness led to the fall. The giant looms over him and coldly says that his fate is decided. But Tsukuru gets up, a challenge in his eyes, and says he was just warming up. Crafton laughs at that bold statement. He lunges forward again, vowing once and for all to end this game of being tough. The beastman mocks his opponent, taunts him, and growls, "Why are you so passive?" He gloats due to Tsukuru's increased strength and speed. He was forced to switch entirely to defense. Tsukuru fights, his hands barely coping. He only repels the relentless onslaught. The divine sword in his hand knows. For him, at the current level, this will be a tough fight. It is clearly visible. Crafton's level and strength are significantly higher. In a direct clash, Tsukuru has no chance to win. The sword suggests a new strategy. Tsukuru must use camouflage and dark magic to create a distraction while the sword searches for a vulnerable spot. It barks a series of commands, pushing Tsukuru to move faster and more precisely. Crafton notices a sudden change in the opponent's movements as the sword pushes Tsukuru to push his body to the very edge of strength. Suddenly a gap appears, and the sword seems to command him to strike the enemy in the face. Craft laughs and says that a dull sword will never be able to wound him, but the blade suddenly reveals its true nature: black mist. Tsukuru raises his weapon, preparing to unleash its power. He announces his final move. The beastman freezes in shock. A destructive barrage of blows descends on Crafton. The beastman growls, refusing to surrender. He successfully repels the attack, and Tsukuru can hardly believe his eyes. A powerful explosion rises from the impact. The force lifts both fighters and throws them back. Tsukuru lies broken, and his sword insists, "Get up and recover your strength," acknowledging that their preparation was insufficient. Craft looms over him. He must manage to cook food for recovery while the opponent is still edible. He admits it was a worthy fight. For the first time he was pushed so hard. But just as he was about to deliver the final blow, Kanan rushed in front of him, shouting in defiance. She swears she will not allow him to kill her teacher. As Tsukuro's consciousness fades, a mysterious voice emerges from the darkness. "Do you want to become stronger?" It warns him if he does not respond immediately, they will both perish. With new determination, Tsukuru swears, he cannot die here. He wants to be stronger than everyone. A divine being listens and agrees to remove her protection from him. She mysteriously told him, "Soon you will understand everything." Tsukuru stands up. His wound seems to have disappeared. A system window suddenly appeared on the screen. The seal of divine protection has been removed, and he learned the unique skill Banquet of the Gods. He rises to his feet. New power flows through him. This skill allows him to create a dish that grants divine power for 5 minutes. Who gave him this power? It does not matter. He cares about only one thing: to defeat Crafton. Having just hastily consumed the item, the skill activates. The message confirmed that he was temporarily granted the divine power of the goddess, and Craft was simply stunned by this. The beastman laughed, not believing that some simple enhancement could defeat such an ancient being as himself. At that moment, Tsukuru appears before him and delivers a devastating blow. Kraft on Reela's back, stunned by such a crazy speed that he didn't even have time to feel it. He doubts whether his enemy is even human when another fierce slash pierces his body. Tsukuru stands over the fallen enemy, his power now overwhelming. He releases his final strike, the guillotine of hellfire. A stream of dark energy completely engulfs Crafton. Tsukuru silently watches as his enemy turns to dust. Rain begins to fall on the silent, desolate battlefield. After this, only desolation remained. A divine power awakened, but the price paid was too high. The main hero stands victorious on the corpse of a colossal beast, covered in its blood. His companion just froze and simply said, "Master." She cannot find the right words to say to him. Suddenly Sanya jumps on his back and exclaims excitedly how incredible he was in battle. The others gathered around and noticed his condition, and one of them said, she expected nothing better from her master. The first girl clenches her fists, feeling her helplessness angrily. She was useless again, and his sacrifice would have meant nothing if he had lost. But one of their allies warns, the fight is not over yet. She reveals a terrible truth, their enemy Crafton has the skill Second Life. Just then the resurrected Crafton launches an attack, and the team frantically begs their master to strike before his divine power fades. But Crafton is too fast. He releases a powerful spell that sweeps them all away. The explosion caught the main hero completely by surprise. A dazzling light fills his vision, the same as during the first summoning into this world. When it fades, he and his companions find themselves in a barren, alien desert. The power of Crafton's hammer transported them to another world, but at least they are all still alive. This place is so familiar, almost like the same world he comes from. He realizes with growing horror that this desolate wasteland is exactly the place where he began. Suddenly he falls to the ground without warning, shocking his comrades. Lying face down, he feels a strange sensation gradually enveloping him. His body becomes completely unresponsive, and his comrades anxiously call his name. Meanwhile, in the capital of Lucasandal, one of the beast tribe desperately begs the summoned heroes for help. Suzunan, one of the heroes, abruptly steps forward to heal his poisoned daughter, but her friend instantly stops her. The friend warns her, the beast people are unreliable, they will probably attack and rob her. She coldly suggests that the man probably kidnapped the child. People like him are known for pretending to be sick for money. Susan is torn inside, struggling with the bitter truth. In this world, life is not valued. Her friend speaks with disgust about the locals who exploit people and abandon them without a second thought. She asks herself why they were brought into this cruel world of slavery and discrimination at all to become heroes. Her thoughts turn to their abandoned classmate, Tsukuru. She fears he might have become a beggar or worse. Suzunan exclaims, begging her to stop saying such terrible things. Her friend tries to comfort her, persistently urging her to become stronger so they can defeat the demon lord and return home. She offers a glimmer of hope, saying that on the way they might even find Tsukuru. Suzunan tightly squeezes her friend's hand, with faith in her heart once again, convinced that she will definitely see Tsukuru again. Back in the desolate wasteland, the main hero lies unconscious. The price of his power has finally taken its toll. They huddled closely around the fallen master, desperately trying to bring him to consciousness. His mind is clear, but his body seems to have refused. He is completely paralyzed, a consequence of the battle's backlash. His companions finally understood. This is the punishment of the beast god. It has taken away his sense of touch. The scope of the strange title he received simply shocks everyone around. It turned out that he was called an eccentric after he forgot he was naked during the previous encounter. Paralyzed and unable to utter a word, he silently screams in his soul for them to stop their shameful chatter. Antie and Hannah returned from reconnaissance and anxiously reported, "There are demons everywhere here and no other tribes." He listens, and in his memory the words of Crafton roar, "Giants and demons dwell in this land." Antioch, with a trembling voice, recounts what Tsukuru told them. The giants were long ago expelled during the War of the Gods. They wonder whether the ancient demon clan perished, but quickly dismiss the thought. It is impossible. Antioch suggests, to subdue the power of other tribes, they must either be conquered or completely imprisoned. They are gripped by a terrible thought. Perhaps they are right now in that very prison. The main character admits that this is only a theory, but without the sense of touch he is powerless and needs time to recover. One of his companions immediately starts setting up the tent. The others quickly divided the tasks, preparing to set up camp and ensure safety on site. One of the girls notices Conan seems to be drowning in anxiety. Conan tries to brush off the anxiety, assuring that everything is fine. Hannah gently soothes her, saying that worrying is normal in their situation, and warm food will calm the nerves a bit. Later in the tent, the group rests, and the main character lies motionless. Hannah froze in surprise when he suddenly grabbed her hand at the very moment she was trying to check if he was okay. He silently regrets his weakness, dreaming of having the strength to protect her from suffering. The sword seems to want to speak for him, but he silently refuses. Hannah thinks about those deep scars from the trauma and knows they need a lot of time to truly heal. Suddenly, the sensation returned to his fingers. Again, his senses began to come back. When the sense of touch and skills returned in full force, he stands up and summons a powerful undead servant. He says they will investigate it, but notices the summoning swallowed an unusually large amount of magic. Looking at his status, he noticed nothing strange, only that his weaker skills were absorbed according to the rule of equivalent exchange. He involuntarily realized the high cost of magic is a feature of this strange land, and immediately notices some unfamiliar woman in his status. He grits his teeth in irritation. Antia, with a burning gaze, tells about aggressive scout demons she dealt with while they were asleep. She explains that from each demon corpse, his summoned familiar Bez can absorb their souls and create new minions. Bez returned from the mission and reported that, destroying their enemies, he reached the very edge of this world. Servant of the Undead confirms their deepest fears. This is not their world, but a completely different dimension. The hero suddenly realizes, in this new world may lie the key to return if only they can find enemies strong enough. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the Dark Lord on the throne learns that one of his squads has vanished without a trace. The commander is grim, not even corpses remain. A servant named Gazan is summoned, a creature kept imprisoned for centuries, given a single command: destroy the invaders. He knelt down, and without hesitation accepted his master's order. The skeletal mage confirms, an ancient representative is present in this very castle. The main hero gives the order, and the team prepares to move forward. For suddenly on their path appeared a demon aristocrat, a vampire count named Gazing. Level 245 demon swears to annihilate all who dare disturb this sacred land. He had not yet finished his threat when he was cut off mid-sentence. One of the warriors of the Beast clan had already launched a lightning-fast and brutal attack. As they advanced further, one of the companions suddenly noticed that an innumerable number of anomalies appeared around. The elf correctly guesses this means they are approaching their true goal, ancient type. The protagonist thoughtfully discusses the giant's weapon, Mjolnir, suggesting that it was given to him by someone from outside. Another comrade only emphasizes this. Elves, werewolves, and dwarves, none of them have the magic to create such an artifact. The Lick hints that cunning death spirits hostile to the giant tribe are behind this, or that the weapon was stolen. So suspicion falls on human or demon tribes, and the hero is forced to reconsider who this ancient species really is. Suddenly, the air compressed with incredible pressure, and thousands of soldiers were instantly destroyed. The main hero recognizes this powerful presence. It is Antia, a creature above level 300, and he decisively says that this massacre will not be forgiven. One of his comrades responded by unleashing a barrage of magical energy. The team gathered their willpower before the upcoming confrontation. Soon they find themselves face to face with new formidable enemies. Ancient evil named Quadruple sits on the throne, a level 440 demon, mocking one of the hero's companions. The demoness mockingly points out the treachery of her subordinate. He continues to speak in a condescending tone, calling them fools for daring to contradict him on his territory. The hero sharply replies, "Who is the real fool here if the demon tribe must borrow power just to fight?" Enraged, the warrior beast Sanya lunges forward and swears to kill him herself. But the demon is already ready. He activates his skill Cursed Eyes. Kill, Sanya froze in his gaze and fell, paralyzed on the floor. Quadruple mockingly declares that resistance against his eye powers is futile. He claims that no one can look away from his cursed eyes. The demon moves to the second attack. His eyes are poison. The hero quickly covered his fallen comrade and shouted to others to avert their gazes. The demon laughs and says that everyone touched by his curse has now become his puppet. But in a lightning-fast rush, the hero closed the distance between them. The ancient demon was stunned by this impossible speed. Thanks to the presence detection system, the main character prepares to strike even with closed eyes. The creature just stands and cannot believe its own eyes when the person delivers a critical hit. When the demon tries to activate its second life skill, the hero coldly tells him that it is already over. He told the dying creature that among all the ancient species he had encountered, this one was the weakest. After the battle, the team looks around the monster's remains in confusion, and Sanya quietly apologizes she found nothing useful. The main character looks at the creature's meat with disgust and admits that he does not want to eat it at all. Antia approaches her master, kneels before him, and makes a serious request. She begs to be allowed to taste the feast of the gods. Conan made it clear she demands to taste the banquet of the gods. She notices that even in her sleep, Dolce still protects her. Suddenly, a woman with cat ears appeared in the doorway. The woman unexpectedly invites her for a walk, and this caught Conan by surprise. Showing the jar, she asks Conan not to tell Sani about its contents. She opens the jar. It is full of sweets, a secret request from the Abba's family servant. Kanyan complains about her own, as she thinks, hopelessness. It hurts her to feel that as a student she has not progressed at all. She compares herself to the servant with cat ears, who calmly replies that unlike Conan, she has sinned. Kynan recalled that the servant was blackmailed, but she interrupts him. Lord Abbess and Master Alteria were also blackmailed. The servant vows to repay their kindness by giving herself entirely to her master. She admits her skills do not compare to the master's, but she can still be useful. Her words seem to lift a weight off Kanan's shoulders, and she sincerely thanks her. With renewed determination, she decides to use her abilities to the fullest and do everything in her power. The scene returns to the main character, who extends the divine artifact. He warns her that greed has limits, but she resolutely strives to eat the pie of the gods. She knows this power will grant her the magic of space and time, the ability to travel between worlds, the power she has longed for centuries. He warns her the effect will last only 5 minutes, and then her senses will be destroyed, but she agrees to pay this price. At first she says that as soon as his revenge is complete, she will be able to return him home. Or she suggests that she might even be able to take him back to his native world. At the mention of his former home, the protagonist's face darkens. Declaring that he no longer has a heart for that world, he allows her to taste the banquet of the gods. He gazes at the golden shimmering piece of divine flesh. He insists that she focus on her desire while she swallows it. The taste is immediately disgusting, but he strictly orders her to swallow. But she restrains it within herself and prays with all her heart for power, begging for the very space-time magic that will allow them to return. A powerful wave of energy bursts from her position. Blinding light envelops her, and ethereal spirits emerge around. Others stand and watch as warm, beautiful light fills the hall. With tears in her eyes, she announces that it is time for them to return. She utters a spell and their journey back to their own world begins. Somewhere, a man in a robe reports their failure. They say that there is still no trace of what they are looking for. A voice from the shadows declared the last attempt a failure and ordered to summon the next batch of heroes. He mumbles that it might awaken. He angrily says that all the summoned heroes were below level 100 and completely useless. He ominously reveals his twisted plan to gather the heroes who lost and sacrifice them for the next summoning ritual. Finally, the cold, merciless face of the one behind these summons is shown. A mysterious woman smiles warmly as the group is transported through a shimmering portal. The voice thundered, "I am returning to my world." But the hero finds himself alone in a quiet, unfamiliar garden. He looks around, eyes full of suspicion, feeling that he is no longer among his own. Realizing that this is not a wolf forest and not Japan, he heard a voice that kindly welcomed him to her domain. He turns sharply, instantly on guard, but she calmly says there is no need to panic. The calm woman says that she is not an enemy. She introduced herself Ohiru Minamakoto, one of the pillar gods of Japan. Unimpressed, he resolutely demands to know where his friends are. The goddess explained that she brought him here herself. She has several requests for him. She says that she knows absolutely everything about his life, even what happened before his birth. The goddess lists every detail of his summoning in detail, and he freezes in amazement. He accuses her of inaction, but she quietly admits, if she had intervened, there would have been an interdimensional explosion that would have destroyed all of Japan. She explains in detail that the cataclysm would have spread across the entire planet, wiping out every living creature on the face of the earth. Instead, she generously bestowed blessings on the summoned one, removing the seal from his S-rank luck and other abilities. The goddess finally confirms it was she who was the source of his super-powerful abilities. Suddenly changing her manner, she declares that her blessing transformed all his skills into cheat-like abilities. She had to carefully adjust the power because her full might would destroy his first-level body in consciousness. He accepts her arguments and asks, "What is your true goal?" She sets him a task to destroy all interdimensional summoning platforms in another world, so that kidnappings never happen again. He recalls his past and realizes that his power was always meant for this. Kreswav Academy, obsessed with points, a character from the first correctional school Iron Gates. He agreed to her terms, but cunningly asked what his reward would be. The goddess is stunned. She thought her blessing alone was a sufficient reward, but he treats it as a separate deal. After a brief negotiation, she reluctantly agrees to his demand for additional compensation. She leans closer and, as part of the payment, offers valuable information. When the goddess spoke about his sister Ayumi, he was completely confused. She smiles and informs him that his comrades will soon be able to return home, all thanks to Kanan mastering the magic of space and time. But she issues a serious warning. Under no circumstances should his classmates be allowed to return to Japan. To prevent global panic, the goddess had to go back in time and erase all 18 students from reality. She says that they no longer exist in Japan, their birth records have disappeared, and returning will only bring suffering. He wonders what will happen if someone insists on returning anyway. She proposes a solution: create new identities for them and allow them to live as completely different people. He sees the truth of their agreement a dead end, where no one can take a step without the other. The goddess presents their pact as a mutual partnership. She places her hand on his face and says she is counting on him to succeed. But as soon as she utters his full name, he is sent away. His vision turns white as he is transported from her garden. He reappears in the wolf forest, and his companions with relief on their faces greet him. He silently curses the goddess Hurum for making his already difficult life even harder. Kanan is sincerely worried, but his thoughts are firmly fixed on the new information about Ayumi. Companions persistently advise him to rest. They say it is the price for his divine ability. Although he agrees all his thoughts are about his sister, he considers her fate a separate and even more urgent matter. He asks how many days have passed since Crafton retreated. The hero smiles and says about a month has passed, sincerely thanking the allies for protecting the village and forest while he was away. Suddenly, a fierce quarrel broke out among his companions. The dwarf grumbles about losses and admits that he and that ancient creature, lent their power to Anti-A. When the immediate crisis passed, the main hero explains that news of the human country's troubles will now spread. His allies, tense and anxious, ask what exactly happened after Crafton was forced to retreat. Elsewhere, a mighty figure roars in despair. He burned with rage over Temis's betrayal, not understanding why he allied with Anti-A to trample them. He growls and declares he will not hesitate to use demons to achieve his goal. He gave the chilling order, start a war against the traitor. The scene focuses on a young woman named Suzanen, who is bent over in despair. She is torn apart by memories of a boy who begged her for help. The faces of the dead flashed through her thoughts, oppressively reminding her of her helplessness. She remembers what it is like to be completely helpless. Celebrated as a saint, she can only heal. She lacks the strength to fight or contradict those who summoned her. She feels that she has always been just a burden, protected by friends while she could only cry. A knock on the door snaps her out of her trance. Her friend Mickey has arrived. Mickey insists that she eat something before she feels worse. As they walk to the dining hall, Mickey casually mentions that today's lunch is steak. Suddenly, the students around them freeze and stare at something further down the corridor. They notice Kuriyama Kaitun of the other Summon Toaster with a small child slave. He boasts with glee about how easily he can buy slaves just by selling loot from dungeons. Another student, overwhelmed with disgust, rushed at him with reproach, but he brushed her off and made a disgusting proposal to the frightened child. He whispers to the child that he will wash her now. Suzanen instantly intervened and firmly demanded that he leave the child alone. Kato, enraged, shouted at her, "Shut up," and retorted, "Who are you to judge me?" He declares that in this new world only those who adapt will survive, mockingly laughing at her constant tears. Suzanen sharply replies that he is the one living in dreams and needs to come down to earth, while the other students meanwhile take her side. An authoritative voice cuts through the noise and sternly asks what is happening here. The students raise their eyes upward to the majestic stairs. Suddenly, a loud bell rang through the hall, catching everyone by surprise. The courtiers burst in, marching authoritatively, and demanded to know where the heroes were. They announced stunning news: giants and demons are advancing, and the heroes must immediately prepare for battle. An order was given to unite with the heroes from the east and repel the invasion. Fear like a wave swept through the summoned students who believed their sole purpose was to fight the distant Lord of Demons. The instructor turns to Suzanen and asks, "What will you do?" Mickey steps forward and resolutely promises to protect her loved one. Susan firmly tells her not to speak, as if she is ready to die. Horror grips her. She realizes that if a few healers among them fall, all will perish, while some guys boast about their training. One of the fighters turns to her and asks her to heal him if he is wounded in the upcoming battle. She nods in agreement, knowing that healing is the only role she alone can fulfill. Gathering her resolve, she decides not to cry anymore. We will all survive this together. There is no more time for tears. The ruler received alarming news. Demons and giants are approaching from the eastern sea. Although knights and heroes fought desperately, they were simply overwhelmed by the enemy's numbers, so he will have to seek help from the alliance of the four tribes. The battlefield is a spectacle of chaos and destruction. Scorched earth is strewn with bodies. Some other conscript students found themselves in hopeless situations. When one of their own is wounded, panic grips them. They realize they are about to be destroyed. The student leader Kyujo tries to restore order and rejects the idea of surrender that would mean instant death. He pulls out a pouch of pills for strengthening the body. They were given to him by the chief priest. Others immediately demand the pills, but Kyujo warns that in 10 hours they will paralyze whoever takes them. United by this new power, they decide to use the tablets to destroy the enemy troops. When the medicine took effect, they were pierced by a wave of energy. Filled with new confidence, the students rushed into battle. When everyone was ready to charge into battle, one of them firmly said, "No." Kyujo reveals his true intention. They are not fighting, they are running away because they feel no loyalty to their captors. One student sharply asked why he was handing out pills if the plan was to retreat, and another silently agreed he really had a valid argument. Suddenly, one of their classmates goes into a frenzy, his eyes burning with rage. He realizes the terrible truth. The pills cause savage rage and make them fight until they collapse from exhaustion. He exposes Kyujo's betrayal. He made them bait to cover his own escape. The berserker shouts for the others to run. He holds the line, though his body is already succumbing to the pill's effect. The rest of the students flee into the dense forest. Two girls follow the tracks, and one of them swears to make Kyujo pay for his betrayal. She refuses to leave her friend and says, "I'd rather die than leave him." Her companion agrees and resolutely declares, she fights not for this kingdom but to protect her friends. Their determination became unshakable. They stand together. They step onto a wide clearing fully exposed and in great danger. Suddenly, a towering giantess appears before them. The giantess spoke, confirming that she had for her kind, and the girl froze in amazement. She stands over the corpse of one of their fallen classmates. The giant mocks them and challenges the swordswoman, try to defeat her, and she gladly accepts. The girl flies at dazzling speed and strikes powerfully at the colossal enemy. Her blade struck, but the giant was not harmed at all by the attack. The sorceress begins to whisper a spell, tensely preparing a supportive enchantment. She has no offensive powers. She vows to keep her friend close at hand, ready to heal her instantly. The giant is bored by this tactic. She realizes that after every strike her opponent instantly heals. Suddenly changing target, the giant rushes at the healer, but her friend steps between them and intercepts the attack. The girl took the full blow aimed at her comrade. Though she was thrown back, she grits her teeth. She will no longer allow herself to be outwitted. She lies heavily wounded on the ground, and the giant looms over her. The wizard shouts to her, "Stop," while the giant raises his hand for a fatal blow. The giant roared, "This is the end." She lowers her fist to crush the lying student. The elder explains how Crafton secretly invades the human country using giants and demons. The beastfolk anxiously wondered where the summoned heroes had gone, and the elves quietly asked the protagonist where he was heading. He announces that he is heading to the land of humans. He swears to return as soon as Conan recovers, and his comrades are stunned by this sudden departure. But before he can leave, a huge presence bursts out from the nearby sanctuary. A group of figures in robes appears. Their power is palpable. The main character frees. Their sudden appearance shocked him. He recognizes their leader and asks with surprise, "What is he doing here?" The elven queen, looking at him, understood. Before her stood an ancient type of human. Elder Thames falls to his knees and begs for help. The giants have attacked his village. The elven queen snorts mockingly and refuses to believe his plea for cooperation. She throws accusations in his face. Allegedly, he was the one who orchestrated Crafton's attack, giving him the divine weapon Mjolnir. She demands an apology for his betrayal, painfully reminding him of his past aggression. Themis apologizes and says he never expected Crafton to use this weapon so cruelly. The main hero watches and feels uneasy at how easily everyone forgave. The queen reveals the truth. Themis once tried to exterminate her entire tribe to establish human dominance. Suddenly, one of the senior guards shouted a loud warning. The knights push everyone aside, making a path. Themis stood before the main hero and sharply said, "I still cannot let you go home." The elder warns him, "Do not be cruel," and in response calls him Saniel. A dark memory surfaces in the hero, and he swears he never forgot how he was rejected. He lunges forward like lightning, blurred by motion, demanding to know if the elder remembers him now. He releases a stream of earth magic. A sinister smile stretched across his face as he challenged the elder, "Avenge yourself." He admits that his previous enemy Crafton surpassed him both in strength and speed. He tried it in vain, nothing changed. He still killed him without hesitation. The main hero traps the elder in a net of dark magic, but this is only the beginning. As soon as the old man screamed, he confessed that he had trained only for this moment of revenge. Themis in despair offers wealth, power, and even an entire country, but faces a cold refusal. The main hero reminds him his revenge is absolute. He asks if the elder really believed he could avoid punishment for his crimes. He promises to inflict the same unbearable torment that he himself was forced to endure. One more moment and he will strike, but suddenly someone's hand gently stops his blade. It is Conan. She insists that he calm down and use this as a chance for interrogation. The Queen of the Elves stands over the captured elder and sharply asks about the man's last plan. He reveals that their goal is complete domination, and for this, they must destroy the powerful tribe of phantoms. The main hero feels a contradiction. The summoned people do not have the light magic needed for such a feat. The elder laughed and said that there is still one way to achieve their goal. But before he could tell more, his laughter suddenly stopped. He instantly died. A mysterious flame burned his body in an instant. It turns out the killer was a skeletal mage named Bees. He quickly disappears into the depths of the earth. The hero hissed curses, angry about the escape and the fact that it is still unclear who the elder was working for. Kynan apologizes for interfering but quickly reassures her. It is not her fault. The plans have changed, and he asks his comrades if they will go with him. Somewhere else, two of the other summoned heroes are determined to save someone who is extremely dear to them. A figure resembling the Pope bowed and apologized to the Elven Queen and her retinue. The Lick confirms their target rushed too fast to be tracked. Most likely, he retreated to his home. The leader of the Beastfolk solemnly vows to protect the Elven village and evacuate the people on its lands, although she herself does not yet fully understand what is happening. The Elven Queen simply thanks When the group decides that the next route is too long, the main character decisively takes out a special item and decides to use it. He summons a flying carpet, a magical item from his world, and his companions froze in surprise. They soar in the sky high above the treacherous terrain below. From their height, they see a huge battlefield raging below. Amid the chaos emerges a wild, grotesque man, a true monster. The main character notices that not all heroes are visible, and the statuses of these new fighters cannot be read at all. The creature on the ground instantly senses their presence in the sky. It shoots upward with terrible speed, frightening the main character. The incredible power of its leap creates a giant shockwave. The mighty warrior roared, "This is the end." A young woman named Mickey cries out of despair, but a familiar smell catches her attention. The warrior holding her captive also notices the smell on the piece of cloth. She sharply turns to her prisoner and demands, "Who are you?" Suddenly, the main hero appears between them with weapon ready. He calmly orders the warrior to release the girl and leave the battlefield. The huge woman hesitates, trying to tend to one of her wounded. The subordinates do not understand why she is so unwilling to attack one person. They demand to know why their entire army must retreat. She sees the overwhelming power of the main hero and knows he can destroy them all in an instant. She is a mother, she will not allow her sons to be killed. The main hero rushes swiftly to Mickey. Her former comrades watch and breathe a sigh of relief she has recovered. He gently soothes her, reminding her of his promise they will definitely meet again. Overwhelmed with emotions, she hugged him tightly. She apologizes for being powerless, she could only watch as he suffered before. He calms her, saying that she was the only one who ever protected him. His companion asks if she needs healing, but he refuses. He explains that she simply fainted from immense relief. The main character turned his gaze to the enemy commander and sharply asked, "Where is Temis?" Suddenly, a terrifying presence covered the entire battlefield. In a dark cave, a new, powerful demon arises born from pure malice. It proclaims the end of the demon's torment, fueled by their shared hatred. The new entity screams the names of its targets, swearing revenge. It unleashes its dark power onto the battlefield. Suddenly, the great warrior woman and her sons find themselves in a storm of ominous energy. A new demon commands them to become his hands and feet and fight for his cause. The demon is only beginning its rampage. A shadowy tentacle instantly pierces one of the warriors. The main hero and his companions can only watch as the demons start attacking each other in madness. The dark shadowy creature suddenly lunges and bites its fangs into the hero's shoulder. The man screamed, and the observer understood with the death of Kitabapas, a new demon of the ancient type was born. A hooded figure watches the chaos flare up, knowing that the demons have finally broken free from the giant's control. He thoughtfully thinks that this event will turn the tide of the war. Below, the rest of the heroes see that the demons have risen, turning their fury against their former masters and driving the giants into full retreat. They recover from the sudden turn of events and ask themselves one question: has the war they fought so desperately really ended? No longer bound by orders, they stare at each other in shock, not knowing what to do next, for now they can do anything. Their leader confirms this with a sly smile. Now they are free. One of the men dreams of returning home as a celebrated hero and imagines a luxurious life. He grimaced, recalling the slave woman he left behind, and eagerly awaits the moment he will see her again. Meanwhile, a demi-human resembling a rabbit cares for a young girl and worries about her naivety in this dangerous country. She sighs, thinking about how much longer she will have to take care of the girl and whether their master will ever return. Meanwhile, Mickey lies unconscious on the ground. Her friend Susan is frozen in shock on the stairs. Before her eyes suddenly flashed a terrible vision of Mickey's mutilated body. Susan wakes her and frantically checks if she is alive and intact. Overwhelmed with relief, she tightly embraces Mickey, and Mickey explains that someone named Hannah healed her body. A woman with cat ears gently introduces herself and explains that she only gave healing food that was passed to her by the master. Another woman named Conan introduces herself, and the two girls sincerely thank them for their help. They froze in shock upon learning that both Hannah and Conan are slaves. Hannah says that their master saved her when she was mistakenly accused and was about to be sold into slavery. Now they stood before a huge mansion, having learned that the war ended due to a demon uprising. An elf named Antie introduced herself, but the conversation broke off when Susan's friend, shocked, learned that Sukru had killed her boyfriend. The whole group froze when Susan was asked if Tsukuru was her boyfriend. As soon as she brushed him off, calling him a childhood friend, the main hero himself returned. The beast girl with a huge boar on her shoulders loudly announced her arrival. The others instantly recognized her. It was Ayumi. This caused incredible confusion because Ayumi was thought to be dead, and the group noticed her striking resemblance to Sanya Tich. Inside, the hero could not believe his own eyes. Sanya was an exact copy of his sister Ayumi. He explained that Ayumi was not his biological sister, but the daughter of the family that took him in after his parents died. 2 years ago, a car accident took her entire family. That is why he was so stunned when he met Sonya. At first, he mistook her for Ayumi. Sonya explains that her appearance is simply a common trait of her beastfolk tribe. She briefly mentions her past and says that she met their master after he saved her and Hannah from imprisonment. NTA was interested. She assumes that there must be some connection between Sanya and Ayumi. The main character clenches his fist determined to get to the truth, but for that he will have to do a favor for a person named Hurum. Suddenly a towering bony figure appears behind them, frightening the girls. The entity asks if they found that old man, and the main character confirms that they did. Next to the skeletal mage stands a calm girl with cat ears in a dark dress. She greets the group with a polite smile and introduces herself Alterius. Suddenly, a woman with fox ears appears before them. She loudly calls Ali. She smiles warmly, as if ready to explain why she appeared so suddenly. Ali admits that the first person she saw when she passed through the transfer gate was the main character, and she is happy that everyone is safe. She explains the entire estate is her base, created thanks to the ability equivalent exchange. The main heroine sharply gets to the point and demands to know why she is really here. Ali admits that her father tried to force her into an arranged marriage. With a smile, she says she ran away after telling him she would marry only the strongest in the world. The group gathers with tense faces to discuss how the situation in their world is rapidly deteriorating. Ali shifts her gaze to the main character. She feels that he is involved in what is happening in the world right now. It was announced, the Inhumans must move to human lands and Algria is already accepting refugees. Ali explains that direct intervention would be perceived as a show of force and would destroy the peaceful relations of their kingdom with the neighbors. She finally reveals her true intentions to help the main character take revenge on the king who betrayed him. By helping him, she will be able to weaken the power of humanity and simultaneously achieve both of their goals. He asks how she plans to handle such a huge task. Her planet is insidious. It wants to break them from within, using his ability to summon spirits to create a double. Doppelganger is a legendary monster that can steal a person's very essence and completely replace them. The plan is to replace the leaders of each country and gradually destroy the king's network of allies until he is left completely alone. The entire plan relies solely on his power, and Ali asks if he is ready to act. He agrees instantly, without any hesitation. The other girls react to the seriousness of the situation. One of them screamed in fear when the monster appeared, and another asks if everyone is already getting ready to leave. The main character confirms the destination and sets off into the human territory straight into battle. The girl who screamed froze in fear. She says that after that injury, she will no longer be able to fight again. Friends calm her down and advise her instead to seek protection from the knights in Albray. They called out to Susanen and shouted passionately, "Join the fight, stop sitting on the sidelines." Even if she cannot fight on the front lines, her holy magic like that of a true saint would be an invaluable aid to the team. The main character asked if she was really sure, warning her about the huge danger that awaited them. Filled with determination, Susanen promises to do everything in her power. She stands ready to face the impending conflict. Another girl panics and shouts that she understands what is happening. Suddenly, a powerful monster was summoned before them. Some girls are clearly traumatized by what they saw. Later, Ellie says to Susanen, "If you really want to join us, first prove that you can protect yourself." She releases a powerful sonic blast. Another fighter unleashes a barrage of holy spears. Their strikes merged into a huge explosion, stunning the cadets who had no idea that this was a combat test. Suddenly, their vision was flooded with system messages all announcing that they had leveled up. With his summoning of spirits, the main character pulls a powerful Lord Doppelganger out of the shadows. He gives the new entity a name, Israel. He remembers the contempt of those who summoned him, and this fuels his revenge. His goal is absolute, to conquer the countries where people consider themselves superior, leaving them not a shred of mercy. Spoiling the teleportation gates, he plans to capture their countries one by one. The plan goes smoothly. Beside him is a brilliant strategist, and soon this will greatly disappoint an old enemy. His bony subordinate reports that survivors from the Suzuno group have been found. Standing in the captured city, he loudly announces that it will become the new base for the heroes. A group of other summoned ones stands against him, refusing to be his pawns. He feels their anger but cannot justify their reckless actions. He orders a subordinate not to touch them for now and to continue the investigation, keeping it secret from others. Somewhere else, a guest they care for is interested in how Suzuno is feeling. His comrades are completely exhausted after grueling training by the sea. Suzuno and Alterius have successfully reached their goal. Their strength was visible to all. The main hero appears before them and acknowledges their achievement. When they ask what's next, he simply replies, "It's time to eat." Suzuno is stunned. She eats such a taste of her native world captivates her and even awakens a new skill within her. Others watch in amazement as he serves the feast. He watches them enjoy the food. Its taste washes over him in a wave of nostalgia, and he involuntarily thinks about returning home. But the oppressive reality came. He had to erase their existence from the face of the earth, knowing that they would never be able to return. He hovers over the desolate icy wasteland, lost in thought. Suddenly, a fierce attack of dark energy bursts from below, aiming straight at him. He remains calm, his gaze sharp and focused, while his subordinate reacts to the ambush. Somewhere far away, his companions feel the disturbance and call his name with anxiety. And a sinister presence loomed. His bony ally loudly shouts a terrible warning: something is happening to Biz. The poisonous fog over the desolate land grows stronger and stronger. The group hovers over the cursed waters on a flying carpet. In the distance, their goal finally appears: a fortress in the lands of death, destroyed during Ragnarok. The hero felt the presence of his target nearby. This confirmed that he was exactly where he needed to be. Suddenly, a horde of ghostly creatures surged at them from the eerie mist. One of his companions jumps forward and shouts that she can handle the ghosts herself. But holy charms are powerless against ghosts. You cannot kill what is already dead. At least the magic created a barrier, momentarily holding back the creature's advance. It was here that he lost the trail of the one he was pursuing. Ahead they see a strange stone monument, which one of the comrades takes for a treasure map. The protagonist stops her, recognizing the language written on it: Japanese from his native world. The whole group is puzzled by this impossible discovery. They believe that this message must have been left by someone else, who was summoned from Japan. Putting the mystery aside, they decide to continue the search. Suddenly their path is blocked by a colossal three-headed guardian beast. The terrible Cerberus looks down on the company, not at all the greeting they had hoped for. Suddenly, without any warning, the beast lunges forward to attack. In fact, it decisively says that it will destroy any threat to its master. The guardian opens its jaws and unleashes a powerful stream of destructive energy. But Hannah steps forward, ready to intercept this blow on her own. She rushes straight at the three-headed monster, stunning it. With incredible speed, she delivers a powerful strike to one of its heads. She mercilessly delivers another devastating blow to that mutt. She proudly declares, "I am a she-wolf, the supreme predator." In an instant, the fight ended, and the comrades enthusiastically praised her for the lightning victory. From the dissipating smoke appears Antie-like night in the form of a skeleton, but it is immediately clear that she is corrupted. The companions mistakenly called Bez, and the main hero instantly sensed danger. Antie screams as the dark force consumes her, and her figure disintegrates, turning into a sinister swarm. The swarm attacked, forcing the hero to defend his team. Directed counter-reforms begged her master to leave, while simultaneously preparing to attack him. Another ally suggests restraining Antie, pushing the hero to move forward. The elven priestess suddenly realizes she knows who stands behind this corruption. Sensing the true enemy ahead, he rushed forward swiftly, leaving the battle to his comrades. He recognized that sinister presence in the black fog. His heart clenched. He feared another comrade had fallen. And suddenly two shadowy figures emerge from the fog, trying to block his path. He cuts them down without a moment's hesitation, his focus unwavering. Finally, he reaches the source. Before him stands another former comrade, but now only a puppet. He gathers his will and vows to cut down the creature controlling his friend. He stands before massive, luxuriously decorated doors, the source of evil. From the shadows emerges a mighty horned demon lord. The entity gazes intently at the lone mortal who managed to reach his throne room. From the queen's position, a deafening sound explosion burst forth. The elf says gloomily, "The phantom attackers seem endless," and the skeletal leader sadly admits it's too hard to hold back against a friend. A young girl looks on with heavy anxiety. One of the phantoms spoke to her master. The hero felt an incredible power emanate from that creature and vowed to overthrow it. In the status window, his opponent emerges an ancient ghost, a powerful high-level entity with a terrible ability to nullify any physical attack. The ghost contemptuously mocks the idea that a human can defeat him, but the protagonist insists that his familiar black mist will suffice. The ancient ghost says he simply reclaimed a subordinate who was stolen, but the protagonist completely rejects this accusation. Ignoring the voice of reason, he charged forward in a storm. His intelligent weapon quietly asks him to calm down, and the ancient ghost notes with interest that he possesses such a rare and strange weapon. The spirit taunts him, but the black fog coldly repels the attempt to intimidate. The hero is stunned by the enemy's incredible speed, but he insists he is still faster. His blade passes through the ghost's body and causes no harm. Physical strikes are neutralized. The ghost taunts him use the cleansing skill, but the black fog howls that its master does not hear it. The weapon angrily shouts at its owner for his recklessness. Tsukuru whispered to the sword, "Stay behind." He resolutely decided to defeat the enemy alone. The ancient ghost mockingly ridicules the weapon, calling it a decorative toy, unfit for real combat. Unfazed, Tsukuru releases a powerful conqueror's slash. The attack hit and wounded the phantom. It was shocked. The spirit disdainfully ignored the minor wound, brushing it off like trash. Tsukuru barely dodges a barrage of shadow blades. Phantom ethereal limbs lunged forward to catch him. He was grabbed and brutally slammed against the debris. He barely manages to deflect the next strike. Two warriors turn into a blurred whirl of movement as their attacks collide. Tsukuru realizes that the ghost's hand, which brings disease, is a serious threat, and he cannot allow it to touch him. He knows if he gets hit even once, he will instantly lose. With this awareness, he vows to win without taking a single hit. The fighters' locked eyes, their focus was absolute. A destructive explosion of power bursts from their duel. Tsukuru is drawn into the destructive shockwave. He grits his teeth and understands how serious his situation is. He tries with his last strength to withstand the relentless force. When the ghost launches another attack, Tsukuru calls the name of his weapon Black Mist. The attack was deflected, he slid back across the broken floor. Glancing at the blade, he exhales with relief it is intact, apologizes for his carelessness, and promises to be more careful. The sword seemed to respond with a quiet humming. The eyes of the ancient ghost narrowed, he recognized the soul of the intelligent weapon. It recognizes in the blade the person who once changed form and became a sword. Tsukuru silently froze, stunned by this revelation. The ghost confirmed that the Black Mist was once a human and ordered her to change form. The dark power begins to swirl around the blade and its owner. The skeleton mage feels the hopelessness of his situation. Allies ask him for a plan, their faces full of anxiety. Suddenly, monsters leap at them from the shadows, forcing them to defend themselves. In the midst of them, a hail of burning projectiles suddenly explodes. One of the female warriors suddenly found herself surrounded by a raging storm of summoned weapons. Elf strategists realize that their enemy uses the summoning of the dead, and by doing so makes their opponents immortal. The enslaved skeleton burns the truth, and to break free, they will have to either kill the one who controls them or kill him himself. He begs them to find his master because as soon as they speak of his death, the summoned spirits will quiet down. The girl of the Beast King refuses to harm the one who saved her. But the elf woman steps forward, her decision may. Having done this, she coldly brushed him off, calling him simply a spirit of death. With one instant movement, she shatters his physical form. Others look at her in horror, not believing her ruthless actions. She calmly but confidently explains, "The spirit of death does not die if you simply destroy its body." While the undead horde does not retreat, the priestess prepares to use holy magic to seal the spirit. The team grits their teeth and prepares to repel the endless wave of monsters. The demonic army, reinforced by a sky full of bats, looks at them with a challenge. The priestess exclaims that she will now unleash her magic across the entire district, without any restrictions. She uttered a high-level spell and summoned two powerful holy spirits, the Kreswav Academy, obsessed with points, and the correctional school Iron Gates, which values character above all. A bright flash of sacred light engulfs the battlefield. Creatures of darkness recoil and scream piercingly in pain. Amid the chaos, Sonya was caught off guard when her friends shouted a warning. A huge beast rushes forward, but Kanan throws himself in front of Sonya, becoming her living shield. Kanan takes the full devastating blow of the attack. Sanya froze in shock, looking at the three-headed dog that wounded her comrade. The wound is Sirius, a clear sign of her sacrifice. Suddenly, a powerful invisible force fiercely pushes the huge beast back. Kanan apologizes that her magic failed, but her friend gently soothes her. However, Sonya seems to come to her senses, completely unaware of what just happened, and her companions only marvel at her strange behavior. In the distance, they see the real enemy, impaled on numerous spear thighs, is the work of their leader. The whole group froze, stunned by the sudden intervention. The main hero sits amid the bloody massacre, his face gloomy. His slimy companion uses its senses to find its master. It finds him near the ruined arch guarded by a mighty lick. The slime anxiously calls its master. The rest of the party turns around, their leader is in mortal danger. The monster grabbed him and entangled him in its nets. Rushing through the bloody massacre, his comrades notice the target ahead. They find their master, his hand, is being devoured by a grotesque mass of darkness. Kanan shouts his name, preparing to intervene immediately. Apologizing in advance for the pain, she prepares to attack. But the main hero does not need help himself, unleashes destructive magic, and destroys the parasitic creature. The enemy mockingly laughs from afar, doubting whether he can fight without a hand. But his hand quickly grows back, everyone freezes in shock, and he calmly says not to worry. He instantly closed the distance and rushed at the enemy. But the fiery spear hit in vain, it caused no harm. The demon is invulnerable to both physical and magical attacks. Now he understands why the allies warned, this enemy cannot be defeated. Other members of his team hold back, insisting that their physical attacks are useless. His main means of combat failed, the hero looks for another way out. Suddenly he remembers a crucial detail. Light magic is the most powerful weapon against the ghost tribe. Filled with new determination, Kanan solemnly swears. From now on she will not allow anyone dear to her to perish. A blade of pure light appears in her hands. She stands ready for battle and her new weapon shines. Her resolve is unshakable. She stands beside him on the front line, ready for the final clash. The ancient demon looks at them and he doesn't care. It notices the sudden appearance of this dazzling light. Together they prepare to unleash all their combined power. The demon declares, "My fight is over." A devastating burst of energy erupts from Kanan's sword. The enemy's body dissipated into vapor, but the hero knows this is not the end and warns his comrades, it will resurrect. He stands ready prepared to strike the moment the creature regains form. He tensely scans the Hall of Ruins, waiting for his enemy to reappear. BZ confirms their fears, the enemy merged with the darkness and fled. Another ally has arrived, confirmed that she is intact and glad to see them safe. Suddenly Kanan collapses to the ground, and a storm of system messages explodes around. She assures them that she is simply exhausted, light magic has taken too much energy from her. But suddenly a new message stunned her and she fell silent. She has mastered cosmic magic. The whole group froze in surprise, they had never seen such mastery of a skill before. The main hero instantly understands the enormous strategic value of this ability. From the shadows, the escaped enemy silently watches them. It is stunned, pondering the impossible appearance of a light mage. Then it directs its gaze at another member of the company. As if an ancient creature recognized the girl, a hint of a hidden connection flashed between them. Later, the group sits down for a shared meal and regains their strength. The hero examines the remains of another of his enemies, a trembling mass of black fog. He explains that this is what happened to the dark shaman they fought earlier. Now he will have to decide what to do with the fallen but still breathing creature. Fleeing into the deserted wilderness, the hero asks himself, "What will I do next?" His partner confirms their new destination is already determined. They arrive at the capital of the Beastfolk Kingdom, a huge camp now hosting refugees from human lands. He resolutely announces their goal to find an ancient dwarf named Dyke. Showing a corrupted sword, he asks hopefully if the dwarven smithing can repair it. The dwarf agrees to examine the mysterious metal at night but warns him, "Do not expect a miracle." The conversation shifted to the refugee crisis. Trade with human lands has stopped, and supplies are so low that it is dangerous. To help, the main hero decides to open a free kitchen that will feed people left homeless. He and his comrades immediately begin distributing hot food to desperate refugees. The whole team silently watches as the hungry finally receive real food. He plans to ask Seidel to distribute food across all countries, but a young girl notes that he himself has eaten nothing. Just the offer of stew and a dark, painful memory surfaces. He recalls the incident when Ayumu was supposed to eat stew, but it spoiled before the first spoonful. Having received a report from his skeletal subordinate, he understood. The giants and demons retreated, but Israfil took important persons from 13 countries captive. They say the enemy leader was locked inside a magnificent temple in the raid-crewed empire. The temple is sealed by an ancient barrier, and he grimly orders to kill any of the old breeds that appear. He notices that Ellie's plan is going smoothly, although Kanan's magic is under enormous strain. Kanan approached, her voice trembling. She is worried about the demon lord and the summoning of heroes itself. She reveals, the appearance of the demon lord was a Rusia lie so that people would have a reason to summon heroes and rule the world. He presses her, demanding more details, and asks why she believes that particular person is the demon lord. She decisively rejects that possibility. She reveals a shocking truth. Thames is one of the warriors who destroyed the first demon lord. 4,000 years ago, people summoned heroes to stop the demon lord and Kedabal Pass during the Battle of the Gods. Another companion insists that demons will never be able to summon another demon lord because she herself burned their summoning sites. The main hero decisively demands proof that there is no other scheme here. Antiaya looks worried, but others are confident in their assessment. Confirmed, the technique of summoning the Lord of Demons was lost when the flames of Kobaru scorched their territory. The observer looked puzzled. How does Kanan possess the magic of light, a skill supposedly available only to heroes? He came to only one conclusion. Her power is a direct consequence of Themis. A message suddenly flashed in the system window. The seal of Themis's blessing has been removed. An ordinary skill transforms into a power capable of creating a god. The gnome returns and brings a verdict for the sword. He says it cannot be fixed. The blade is like a corpse beyond their technologies, and only the ancient tribe of ghosts could lift its curse. Having no other choice, Themis activates his unique skill, Feast of the Gods. Suddenly, the main hero is granted a new individual skill, the ability to change form. He immediately uses it, ordering the black mist of the sword to return to its original form, knowing that he will have to suffer for it. He prepares himself mentally for the counterattack. A bright light flashed, and he remembered the harsh price of this skill, losing one of his senses for the whole day. An overwhelming force pierces him, inflicting unbearable shock. Bubbles rise around him and consciousness slowly returns. He is sinking into the abyss, his mind racing, trying to recall what happened. The last thing he remembered was trying to use the banquet of the gods to restore the black mist. Suddenly, he finds himself sitting on a path in a strange forest bathed in sunlight. He looks at his hands and suddenly, with a shudder, realizes they are not his. Before he can comprehend this, several figures appear and one of them calls him sensei, asking for advice. To his surprise, his own mouth moves and agrees without any conscious thought. The words burst from his lips on their own, against his will. He screams inside, not understanding what is happening, while the group only watches. Now he is trapped, a forced observer in a foreign body and on foreign land. His father taught him to wield a sword, a man who lived and breathed the world of knights. Following in his father's footsteps, he became an instructor in his youth and began training the best in the kingdom. But as soon as his students grew up and went on missions, they started disappearing one by one. Soon his students were framed for treason, and he was forced to bear full responsibility. On paper, it was a resignation for a training trip, in reality exile. He knew they would never betray the kingdom, but he blamed himself because he believed the swordsmanship skills he taught them were simply too weak. He carried a crushing guilt, convinced that his own failure had led them to their graves. Now he has reached a limit. He cannot rise above level 100. He suffers trying to break through this obstacle and constantly asks himself what key element is he missing. He deliberately escaped to a deserted wasteland to face a terrifying monster face to face. Wounded and exhausted, he prepares for the end and accepts this place as worthy to die here. Suddenly, a storm of shadow spikes rushes straight at him. The attack hits the target. He is seriously wounded and coughing up blood. From the darkness emerges a mighty creature from the undead tribe. The creature offers him power and life, but only if he agrees to become its familiar. It demands that he swear eternal loyalty and worship it as his lord. Despite the mortal wounds, he stubbornly and defiantly refuses. He proclaims that his soul and sword have sworn allegiance to the fatherland, and he will not allow them to be desecrated. The Lord of the Undead laughs. His words in uniform are strangely familiar. It torments him with a vision, as if asking, were those his lost disciples? The monster smiles and says that their pure souls were extraordinarily tasty, and confirms that it ate them. He, screaming with pure rage, realizes that he stands face to face with his disciples' killer. The form of the Lord of the Undead began to transform and writhe under incredible power. It mocks his disobedience and questions his chances. The creature disdainfully waved it off. He is a simple human child who cannot oppose her. Suddenly, another voice was heard. Is this some kind of drop item again? The main character stands as if reborn, pointing forward with icy, unwavering determination. Consciousness slowly returns from the foggy void. The main character wakes up in bed, and what just happened feels like a distant dream. He asks himself if it was all just a nightmare. When his vision clears, he realizes that the punishment from the banquet of the gods ended after a whole day. He turned his head and, stunned, saw with horror a young woman in bed next to him. She panics and, screaming, realizes that he can see again. He asks why she is here, and she replies that she did not think he would recover so quickly. A sudden rumble outside draws his attention. Sanya was thrown to the ground during training. The girl beast pounds the ground with her fist in genuine frustration. He calmly tells her that there is still a long way ahead. Suddenly, a man in a hood appears and greets the main hero as his kindred spirit. In the status window it says, he is Black Mist, the blade of the god of war, level 600. The main hero fell silent in shock. From another room, the girl also froze in shock upon hearing the legendary name. The man notes, when a weapon becomes a person, it is usually a beautiful woman, but he is simply himself. The main hero suddenly understood. Before him was his sword, returned to its original human form, and the dream was a vision of his blade's past. Blackmist confirms this and explains that the ability allows them to share memories and thoughts. He admits that after eons spent as a sword, his human memories have faded, but the past he saw of Shamanal threw him off balance. The hero waved it off, focusing on his victory and the looming threat of the ancient enemy's plan. Blackmist announced that his training begins right now and warned, he needs to become much stronger to take revenge. Meanwhile, in a luxurious mansion, a desperate man found himself trapped. He calls his subordinate. His voice echoes through the empty corridors. He is in panic at his desk when he realizes he cannot contact other countries, and none of his men are returning. He fears for the missing subordinates but knows, leaving the barrier's protection is a death sentence. The man curses Tsukuru, convinced that all his misfortunes began the moment he met that boy. He is even more troubled by the strange appearance of Shamanal and the new breed of ancient demons ravaging his domain. Without any messages and without soldiers, he feels completely powerless and unable to face the one he must answer to. He struck down with his fist with all his might, overwhelmed by rage and despair. Two swordsmen engaged in a fierce exchange of blows. In the neighboring estate, a company is hastily preparing dinner while anxiously watching the duel. Their blades clash with dazzling speed. It is clear how refined their skill is. Sparks fly and the relentless assault allows no moment of rest. The fighters locked weapons and the duel reached a deadlock. The forces are equal. The main character is puzzled. Although his level is higher, their abilities match perfectly, as if he is fighting his own reflection. He cannot get rid of the thought whether this conscious sword of black fog reflects his own state. The weapon reproaches him for weak technique and persistently demands that he focus on the fight. During intense training, a shout suddenly rang out, "Food is ready." The hero exclaims with delight that food is the greatest pleasure he was deprived of when he was a sword. Before them unfolded a luxurious banquet. On the table shone dishes exact copies from his native world. His comrades pounced on the food with such appetite that they are already demanding seconds. He looks at the company and sees that one of them has conveniently dodged. He did not eat his onion. The scene shifts to a war council, where they speak indignantly about how that damned old man is losing control. His commanders are beginning to disobey him. His ally unexpectedly reveals his plan to officially declare the end of human rule. Lick explains his plan to unite other races, making the Raider Empire a demonstrative example. The woman presses her lips and confirms, the true goal of the main character is revenge, not to ignite war between great powers. She tells him that the organizers of the summoning have already dissolved, only their main target remains. He simply smiled slyly, agreeing with her brief, accurate assessment of the situation. The elven Queen Antier is asked to help establish peace, but she is not at all thrilled by this prospect. She says that if the current ancient type of human dies, a new one will simply be born in his place, and she will have to clean up all this chaos herself. Just as they have a duty to their people, she has sworn an oath to protect her own. The protagonist reveals the decision to use Kanan's spacetime magic to isolate the ancient type and control the entire human tribe. Although they admit that the word control sounds bad, they believe humanity can be led to a better future. One of his companions exploded with rage and shouted that any insult to her lord is unforgivable, no matter who committed it. The elven queen, seeing such passionate devotion, seems to read the room. With a heavy sigh, Antier agrees to cooperate. She has no other choice if it will save her people. Lick raised another alarm. Other summoned heroes are already plotting to invade the Raid Crude Empire themselves. They realized this could complicate everything. The heroes' actions might alert their main target. This, one of the women asks, are they talking about Kuju and others? Then she asks what they are doing now. A warrior bursts in and loudly announces his arrival. Meanwhile, another hero decisively warns his comrade to retreat. The man in glasses fights with unstoppable force. A sudden fierce explosion erupts, and it throws him into the air. The enemy is defeated. The heroes rejoice in victory. But the man notices that his level has sharply jumped to 170 and continues to rise. His companion excitedly recognizes this as a limit break, an ability meant only for true heroes. Bolstered by victory, the summoned heroes declared the kingdom their territory. The newly gained power has corrupted their minds. Soon Kyujo coldly deflects the question about when they will invade the next empire. The woman in glasses is seen alone. She trembles, trying to convince herself that she made the right decisions. A sudden piercing scream breaks the silence and stuns the gathered students. A girl with dark hair appears in the doorway, and everyone freezes. It is Ikenos, whom they thought they had already lost. Then she asks a chilling question, will those who died with regret ever truly find peace? Kyujo simply sneers disdainfully at her dramatic return. One of the heroes insists that their survival is thanks to his prediction, but Ikenos sharply rejects this version of events. Kyujo sharply cut in, saying that they almost died and were saved only by two Miki and Sukuru. He agrees with her but immediately turns the conversation back to her, accusing her of the suffering now endured by the kingdom's people. Everyone now reproaches him, asking what right he has to speak of justice if he hid behind others during the real battle. Behind her appears a huge skeletal ghost, its silent presence challenging Kyujo's convictions. Just at that moment, the guard shouts that the hostages have been freed and are already being helped. The former hero recoiled, gripped by horror at the sight of the death ghost. The figure in the cloak steps forward, silencing the panicked student and demanding his attention. He stands before them and offers three options: to die right here, to return to his world, or to stay alive. The student immediately panics, pleading to be sent back home and desperately wanting to escape the endless war. The man in the cloak offers this to everyone else who wants to leave. Kyujo smiles slyly and says he will stay in this world where he has more freedom. The main character simply tells him, do everything you can. He placed his hand on Kyujo's shoulder, and instantly some unknown ability was activated. Instantly, Kyujo and those who decided to stay lost their powers and became just ordinary 6th level villagers. The main character and his comrades turn away and leave the powerless heroes behind. Kuzu in despair calls Ikenos, offering information about a comrade in exchange for help. He says he saw a demon kidnap their friend. He tries to manipulate her, asking the saint, do you really want to abandon your savior? Ikino calmly tells him not to worry, she has other ways to find him. She met his gaze and without looking away said to him directly, I am not a saint, I am just as ordinary a person as you are. She asks him not to tell others about their conversation. Later, the main hero stands next to the priestess and tells her that the former heroes have already been dealt with. He says that they stood in the way of his plans and apologizes for this unexpected detour. He asks himself whether his actions will bring peace to the dead, but honestly admits, He is driven not by concern for the deceased, but by a thirst for his own revenge. The temple priestess gently assured him that he can count on her full support in his quest. He is behind bars together with his comrades, their weapons have been taken away, and it seems that all hopes for escape have faded. He is the only one who can still fight in a berserk state, and now doubts whether he can protect them alone. A sudden sound tears him from his thoughts. Raising his eyes from the pit, he sees a mighty undead looming over the bars of his cell. Meanwhile, in the city, his comrades watch in horror as one of them simply disappears, leaving only a black charred spot in his place. Meanwhile, in another corner, a military council is tensely discussing how the conflict between the tribes of giants and demons is escalating. The main hero reports that negotiations with the beastmen and dwarves went successfully, albeit reluctantly. A real political storm is brewing in the capital over the achievements of the one called Israfil. The orator loudly announced that 14 nations are uniting to put an end to the policy of human supremacy of the Raid Crud Empire. The crowd roars for justice and demands that the leader Thames be punished for the devastation. This entire movement is presented as a response to the terrible tragedy caused by the War of the Old Regime, based on the idea of its own superiority. In the royal palace, advisors anxiously warn the emperor, Themis is in mortal danger. Some insist that Themis is still recovering from wounds and must not be disturbed. One of the imperial ministers casts a suspicious look at him and bluntly asks who he is. Before he could finish the accusation, he is mercilessly knocked down by a blow from behind. The figure on the throne coldly said, "It's a pity they had to learn the truth." A frightened guard rushes into the inner chamber, shouting that the undead have taken over the emperor's body and replaced the royal guard. The knights at the door assure him no one will pass them. Suddenly, the messenger is killed. The guards reveal whom they truly serve, the new ruler. Inside, the old Themis feels chaos and desperately clutches a pouch. He begs for strength as a dark silhouette of a man appears in the doorway. The majestic doors open, and the main hero appears on the threshold. His mighty comrades stand on either side. Stepping over the fallen guards, he loudly announces his return. After a long and exhausting journey, he will no longer allow his goal to escape again. He advances with cold determination, swearing to kill the old man right here and now. In the Great Hall, there is an eerie silence, and the hero instantly understood. All the key people were replaced by doubles, so his true target is now unreachable. A memory instantly flashed in his mind about the place where it all began the day the hero was summoned. He still sees the faces of the nobles who were present at the ritual. Since he stepped into this world, his dignity and heart have been trampled underfoot again and again. But now all that torment was finally coming to an end. One of his comrades asks, "Is this really the end, the world ruled by humanity abandoned to itself?" Members of his team look at him with anxiety, feeling the weight of his intentions. He clearly makes it understood that he is not some righteous hero called to solve the problems of the whole world. His only goal is revenge, and a distant explosion announced the beginning of his plan. Meanwhile, the Elven Queen decisively orders her subjects to destroy all summoning structures and erase all records. One of the elves flinched at the sudden rumble, searching through the archives. Throughout the city, people raise their heads and look at the smoke and flames swirling above the royal quarter. The destruction is colossal. The tower crumbles under the pressure of the attack. Inside the magically protected room, an old man anxiously wonders, where is this noise coming from? A sudden knock on the door made him jump. He orders the person to enter and tell in detail what is happening outside. The door opened, revealing a terrible undead creature's flesh half-rotted. The old man howled in horror, recognizing the monster standing before him. The undead lunged forward with dazzling speed, its claws ready to strike. In an instant, the man was torn to pieces. As soon as the runny nose dissolves into the air, the real target suddenly realizes an uninvited invader has infiltrated his territory. Panic grips him. He knows that his ancient type of barrier should be impenetrable to all, except perhaps for another one like him. An overwhelming presence presses down on him, and a voice demands what he will do next. Old Themis falls to his knees, begging and swearing to faithfully carry out any order. From afar, the hero watches with a smirk, as his enemy instantly loses his head over the death of just one double. There in his palm, dark energy thickens. He tells the frightened old man that this is only the beginning. Thames just stares back, his face a mask of pure horror.